Good morning. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Market Open. It is a Wednesday, June 25th. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And to get it started, look at this guy. He has not been on the channel for like a month, probably more than a month at this point, because he's out there going on the journey of building some $100 billion startup. Mr. Derek Wall, thank you for the gifted 50 membership. 50 of you guys just got some gifted memberships courtesy of a very good friend and mentor of mine, and also a very good friend of Triple V, Mr. Derek Wall. Derek, thank you for being here this morning. Seems like Derek was chatting with you guys on the stream before I got here. Good morning, everybody. He said I'm working his ass off. He is absolutely working his ass off. Derek actually called me yesterday. Yeah, he called me yesterday 20 minutes before the stream. I told you guys he's been grinding and working on a startup. That's why he's barely been part of the streams. He has no idea what was going on in the markets. It was like, is Tesla going up? I was like, yeah, dude, they just launched robotaxi. He's like, oh, they did? He has no idea what's going on in the markets, but he is working on a startup, and it's really inspiring to see someone who's had as much success as him go after his dreams and keep building at this point of life. And he's doing it, but he's here as well. Derek, thank you for being here. I guess this was one of those days he had to show up on the stream, and maybe he had to show up in the stream because he opened his portfolio and he looked at the portfolio, and maybe he saw a little bit of green. Maybe he saw a little bit of green. For those that want to know what he does on his startup, there it is right there. Well, see, I guess that's why he's here today. There you go. It's live. Stockapp.com. Towards the end of the stream, we can take a look at it and check it out. I didn't even get to check out the full website yet. So it literally just went live, I guess, this morning right here. For those that have been asking me, what is he working on? What is he doing? Stockapp.com. It's transforming B2B commerce. I'm an investor in his startup, and I think it can be a $100 billion idea, and you guys can check it out right there. Stockapp.com. We'll probably look at it a little bit later going into the stream, and that one is live here on the day. Triple V as well. He's an investor in his startup, and looks like they made some progress, and they are officially launching live. 50 memberships. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Folks, it is a day that, see, look how cocky this guy is. 100 billion. No, it's going to go to 1 trillion. This guy, he's as humble as you can imagine, but then he's cocky whenever it matters. And I think that's, I guess, the hallmarks of what it takes to build an ultimately great founder. Folks, if you looked at your portfolio this morning, this is what you got. I mean, this is one of those days, or it looks like it's going to be one of those days, unless this volume is just a pre-market phenomena where things are going up and they're going to collapse in 40 minutes, which it doesn't seem like, because the volume is pretty strong. The momentum is pretty strong. It looks like this is going to be one of those days similar to yesterday, where momentum is just pulling these stocks to another level. And there's a lot of catalysts that I looked at in the pre-market. I've been reading a lot of different things for why it's been this green. Because if you woke up any time over the past 2 hours, everything's just blazing green, blistering green. And I'm trying to figure out why, like what exactly is happening. There's a lot of things to talk through. So we'll talk about it. But Robinhood right here. Congrats, everybody. All-time highs, 85.25. The all-time high was 85. We were at 85.25. We were up another 4% after being up 7% yesterday. Palantir is 30 cents away from all-time highs. Tesla, 343. Nvidia is $3 away from all-time highs. You got AMD at 140. I know this must feel so good for so many people on AMD. SoFi above 16. It's been a while. It's been about 3 months since we've seen above 16. There you go, up about 1.2%. Grab right here, 476. Google, 168. Reddit, 147. That's up 5%. Meta, 716. That's up 1%. Amazon, trying to get back to 220. Even Apple's up right now. Bitcoin right here, 107, which is definitely helping Robinhood. And the other thing that is helping is this bad boy, Coinbase, up 5%. They got upgraded to $510 street-wide high target. The reason, we'll go deeper into it, but it's stablecoins. Apparently, stablecoins are simply a game changer for Coinbase, and a lot of analysts are starting to realize that the street doesn't recognize how big of a deal it can be, and it's getting upgraded. Rocket Lab right here, 33.85. ASTS above 50, or below 50. It's actually down 6%, but it was above 50 yesterday. I think people will still take it in that $50, $48 range. Down 6.3% right here. Lyft is up a little bit. Walmart's up a little bit. IWM, small caps are catching a little bit of a bid. IREM, this one has been moving over the past week. That's up 3.6.4%. I mean, just what a day. What a day already. Obviously, we got to see how the market opens. S&P 500, 608, up another 0.2%. There's a lot of excitement that's going on right now. We got a lot to talk about and try to understand in terms of how this is playing out. Charles, thank you for being a channel member. Appreciate it, Charles. And Mr. Jarek Wall, again, thank you for the 50 gifted memberships. A bunch of you guys just got gifted memberships courtesy of Mr. Derek Wall. There's nothing special to a membership. A lot of people have been asking, like, what do you get? You don't get anything. There's no like exclusive content or anything like that. It's just $5 a month to support the channel if you want to. But yeah, outside of that, it's you get like a green name, which kind of looks cool. But yeah, appreciate anyone who wants to support. I'm Beneficial. Hood Morning. I'm Beneficial has been getting some benefits from Robinhood as he's been long this name since basically $10. Thank you for being here. Thanks for the super chat. And a very hood morning to you as well. Dude, this is a pretty wild day. This has been a pretty wild 24 hours. There's a lot of catalysts. I know the number one question on everyone's mind is like, why? Why is it so green? Why are we just like kind of busting through all these different levels? The Nasdaq is at a new all-time high as well. S&P very close, less than 1% to get there. And there's a lot of reasons why. And we'll talk about a lot of those reasons. Robinhood right here, 85.39. I mean, Hood looks like it wants to go to 100. It's just that simple. And will it? I don't know, but it looks like it wants to as the momentum continues to be very, very strong. Pltr as well. Again, Pltr all-time high is 144.86. This one is 20 cents away. It looks like it can crack that today. I mean, 145 looks like it's on the table, up about 1% of the pre-market. And then Nvidia, the one that surprised me this morning was Nvidia. Seeing that one gap up was like, oh, they did get a $250 street upgrade from Loop Capital. That's the highest price target on the street, and we'll talk about the analysis there. Yesterday, had a ton of semiconductor news that was bullish. Foxconn said they're booked for the next 3 years when it comes to NVIDIA. They're one of their biggest suppliers. You had a company that was up 6%, Abarella, I believe, that potentially can get bought out in the semiconductor space. You had SMCI raise $2 billion, and they said it's because they have so much demand for their servers that they needed more capital. You had a lot of things going on. Broadcom got a price target to 400. All of that influencing NVIDIA, and we're seeing NVIDIA right here trying to get to that 150 level. Broadcom as well, 265. That is also a new all-time high for that one. And you got Micron earnings today. If Micron can crush it, then that also would be very, very bullish for the broader sector as well. Okay, cool. So let's get into it. Let's talk about why this is happening. I've got a variety of different reasons. I would love to know everyone's reasons in the chat. Any ideas you guys have for why we're seeing this momentum? But I think there's a myriad of things that are going on right now. First of all, real quick before we do that, Tessie, Elon shared this tweet. It's the first time he's talked about Optimus in a while. He said Optimus V3 is going to be, you got that chef's kiss emoji. Excellent review with the Tesla Optimus team. Yeah, Elon's excited. And look, FSD and Robotaxi has been the main reason for the momentum on the stock. I mean, if he drops a little bit of, I guess, progress on Optimus, and this is one tweet that shows, hey, Optimus is coming. But if he actually shows some real stuff in regards to how big Optimus could be, I think the street would be very excited. Someone also asked, is Optimus going to run with the Grok voice assistant? That would be pretty cool. He says it already does. So I think Elon and Tesla has just not been showing us Optimus progress on like videos, but behind the scenes, they're definitely working on it. And hopefully, when they do unveil some stuff, that is something that I think the street has not. Even Kathy, the biggest bull on Tesla, has not put an Optimus at all in her valuation model. Everything is based on Robotaxi. You put an Optimus there, there might be something that's very, very exciting for that story as well. All right, cool. Let's get into it. So let's start off with NVIDIA. Why is NVIDIA getting some momentum? This is the first thing right here. NVIDIA launches 249 RTX 5050 to tap millions of gamers and drive Q3 gaming revenue. So that's kind of the core technical reason right here, outside of all the semiconductor stuff we talked about, for why NVIDIA is getting some momentum. New product out right here that likely could lead to a massive spend in Q3 gaming. I think last quarter was one of their best quarters in the past couple of years for gaming revenues as well. So from that perspective, they are seeing a bit of a bid on gaming. Data centers obviously were great, but they have the China headwind that they're not going to be able to tap into. So launching the new RTX 5050 could be another catalyst for NVIDIA. So that's one reason why the markets are green, in particular for why NVIDIA is green. Another reason is because the market might be pricing in that we officially have peace in the Middle East. Now, do we have peace in the Middle East? We don't fully know, but the point is, you got Trump that's out there in the Netherlands right now talking about what happened with the U.S. attack on the Iranian nuclear facilities. And he's basically saying, hey, they're done. We got them. They're not going to enrich anything right now. We at least pushed them back 5 to 10 years. And as a result of that, the market's saying, all right, a denuclearized Middle East. And then potentially trade deals coming after a ceasefire, maybe that's a reason to go back to all-time highs.
What is your response to the Iranian foreign minister continuing to say Iran will enrich uranium and pursue nuclear weapons?
Well, I don't know if they've said that, but I'll tell you, the last thing they want to do is enrich anything right now. They want to recover. And we won't let that happen. Number one, militarily, we won't. I think we'll end up having somewhat of a relationship with Iran. I see it. Look, I've had a relationship over the last 4 days. They agreed to the ceasefire. And it was a very equal agreement. They both said that's enough. They both said it. But no, they won't do that. The last thing they want to do, Katie, is enrich. They're not looking to. They're not. Can you imagine after all that they're going to say, "Oh, let's go and do a bomb"? There could be a day in the future. Well, and then somebody else taking our place will be saying, "Don't do it," and maybe they won't do it as well. I don't know, but they're not going to have a bomb, and they're not going to enrich. And we believe all of the stuff is down there. We don't think they had nearly the time, because to get that out is a very difficult thing. It's not like moving a package or taking this carpet up and moving it. It's very difficult. It's very dangerous to do. We believe it's all down there. We had a tremendous victory, a tremendous hit, and because of that, I don't think they would have been down there, because they knew we were coming. When they know we're coming, they're not going to be down in that 30 stories underground. So. No, I think it was just a tremendous victory for everybody, including Iran. Look, they've got a country, and they've got oil, and they're very smart people, and they can come back. Israel got hit very hard, especially the last couple of days. Israel was hit really hard. Those ballistic missiles, boy, they took out a lot of buildings, and they've been great. Bibi Netanyahu should be very proud of himself, and they've really been great. But they're not going to be building bombs for a long time.
So that's what you got from the president. Now, there are various reports. I know a lot of people have been seeing this over the past 24 hours from CNN, the New York Times, etc. I have not confirmed these reports. I think, quite honestly, no one knows the truth claim of these reports yet. I don't think the Pentagon has necessarily solidified them or not. But there are reports saying that the attacks were ineffective in a variety of different nuclear facilities, and that Iran has the ability to continue pursuing their weapons, and they're not pushed back by any significant amount of time. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. I think we're going to need a little bit more clarity to see if that ends up taking place. But as of now, from a market perspective, I would say the market's believing, okay, we got a ceasefire. Israel and Iran are probably done for the time being. If you believe the Iranian nuclear facilities have been meaningfully hurt or destroyed, or at least pushed back in terms of progress, then enrichment in Iran is not going to be as aggressive as we thought it was going to be. And what does that really mean for the stock market? Well, that means that oil prices are not going to spike the way people thought they were going to spike. I mean, WTI crude was at 78 a week ago. It's at 64. And it was at 62 a week before this whole thing started in the first place. So the idea that there was going to be some massive shock and that would hurt the entire system, that's just not happening. Or at least the perception of that is not manifesting itself into reality. So you got that as another reason why the markets are kind of getting some momentum right here. Just the overall idea that there was going to be some pain in the oil markets, which would disrupt the cruise lines, the airlines. Oil is an indirect input cost to everything in our economy. That is not seeming like it's going to take place anymore. And then you had Mr. Besant yesterday say, hey, trade deals are coming.
Lunch meeting with the senators. I think that we are on track for hopefully for a vote this Friday for July 4th for the tax bill. President is doing peace deals, tax deals, trade deals. So he's done a peace deal. I think we'd have the tax deal done by July 4th, and then we can finish with the trade deals. It had a very...
Now, look, I know Besant's been saying trade deals have been coming for a long time. I get it. But if you actually believe him here that we're going to get this big, beautiful bill passed on July 4th, which would obviously be ultimately a big win for Trump, and then trade deals are coming after that, maybe, there is some level of benefit of the doubt. You can say that they've been saving the India, Japan, South Korea trade deal for after they get the big, beautiful bill done, because that will kind of just be building on their momentum versus announcing it now before the bill is in place. I mean, like, logically, politically, it makes sense to wait until you get a big win and then you put out those deals. But time will tell, right? In another 2 weeks, I mean, he said, hey, trade deals are coming after July 4th. July 4th is about 9 days away. So we're going to see if it actually does come. If it does, I think the market is pricing in, okay, we have inflation coming down. We have the Fed, which we'll talk about in a second, that have basically indicated in a variety of different implicit ways that they're ready to cut rates. You've got growth in Q2, which is going to be the real decisive winner of if we get to keep these multiples, because we're trading at 23 times S&P earnings for next year. So we're already trading at a pretty aggressive multiple. Can we keep that up if we beat on the growth argument for the first quarter that actually has to deal with tariffs? And then finally, if you got trade deals, you put all 5 of those pieces of the puzzle together, you get higher stock prices. Not to mention $7 trillion on the sidelines. Not to mention hedge funds, we looked at a chart yesterday, are the most underexposed to U.S. equities that they've been in 5 years. I mean, there's just going to be money that ends up saying, all right, I missed AMD for the past 3 months. I got to buy it at 141, which it's not the same risk reward. It was at even 120 or 95. And it was stuck at 95 for a good 2 months, just like teetering back and forth. But now that it's breaking out, it might go to 180. I got to have it something in my portfolio to show my clients that I'm not crazy and that I can buy equities that actually can maintain momentum along with the market. I have to beat the S&P 500. Boom, I'm buying Nvidia at 140. I'm buying Hood at 85. I'm buying Palantir at 145. I have to take a chance on Tesla at 340. Nvidia, this is the blue chip stock of the market. I have to buy it at 150 if it's going on its run. I mean, for anyone who bought the dip on any of these names over the past 3 months, you will be supported by having a bid from buyers that didn't. And they have to come back in. And so from that perspective, I think that can also explain a little bit more about why the market is engaging in some of the momentum and progress that we're seeing right now. Paula, thank you for the $20 super chat. Appreciate it. Thanks for your dedication. Paula, thanks for being here. Means the world. Thank you all for being here. It's been a hell of a week, dude. It's only Wednesday. It's literally only Wednesday, but it's been pretty damn incredible over the past 48 hours. Now, what's going on with the Fed? So Jay Powell essentially said yesterday the same stuff that we all know Jay Powell tends to say, right? That we need to be more data dependent. We need to look at what's happening. We can't make a decision until we get the right data. However, he did mention that if tariff volatility were to die out, then he would be more likely to cut rates. Now, granted, he's been saying that for a long time, but one thing that's unique about this Nvidia right here, 149.72, is that Michelle Bowman, Austin Goolsbee, and Christopher Waller, all 3 of these Fed presidents that have a vote on the rate cut, said they don't even need to see tariff volatility die down because the data is sitting in front of them. And when we get CPI, PPI in the month of June for July, that's going to be a big one, in my opinion, because if that shows another sequential month-over-month decline, that would be the 5th month in a row of sequential declines. I think they're going to try to make their argument to Jay Powell that it's time to cut, irregardless of what we understand from the tariff volatility, even though Jay Powell is publicly saying that the tariffs are kind of the only reason that we haven't cut. I mean, quite literally, he said yesterday, if we didn't have tariffs, we would be cutting by now. And I think some of the Fed presidents are just like, that's a stupid reason to not cut. We should probably cut. Question is going to be if they can convince him going into July. So I think now the market's also saying, all right, well, if there's a chance we actually get the cut, July probabilities right now, 20%. I mean, that was 12% last week. You did have some nice public statements by the Fed officials yesterday. That could also be factoring in on potentially getting a rate cut. The thing is, though, if we're at an all-time high in the stock market, I mean, you got Jay Powell saying, why do I need to cut, right? Like, if the labor market's strong, although inflation's coming down and that is the reason, he might be asking himself, maybe there's too much money already that's out there. There's too much stimulus, so there's not a need to meaningfully stimulate the economy again. But this wouldn't be to stimulate. This would be to, like, fix the housing market, make sure auto loans can't get that high. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to cut outside of just the stock market here. And it might just be the right thing to do as rates are coming down. So I think that, along with the variety of geopolitical things that have now calmed down, is giving the market some momentum. U.S. debt is still there. That is correct. So here's an update on that. Our debt is growing, folks. The U.S. Treasury posted a $316 billion budget deficit in May, the 3rd largest on record. Government outlays rose 3% year over year to $687 billion. Tariff revenue surged 270% to $23 billion. Obviously, if we're posting a deficit of $316 billion in 1 month, getting $23 billion in tariffs, not really making a dent. The budget gap now stands at $1.37 trillion in the first 8 months of fiscal year 2025. That's why you keep seeing this number of $37 trillion being thrown around. Yeah, it's because we, obviously increased the deficit by $1.3 trillion in the past 8 months. And the 12-month federal deficit now stands at $2.0 trillion, or 6.7% of GDP, up from 6.1% a year ago. The deficit spending crisis is obviously getting higher. Now, we did listen to a clip the other day of, I think it was Steve Eisman or Steve Weiss. No, yeah, Steve Eisman basically saying, he went on this rant about how people complaining about the deficit is just virtue signaling. And to an extent, he's right. I mean, like at the end of the day, we've all accepted we have to outgrow and that our dollars being the reserve currency will naturally require a deficit. Should we get to 50 trillion in debt? Probably not. But if everyone's going to keep buying our debt and no one's going to get off the US dollar as the reserve currency, then it kind of, not to say it doesn't matter, but it kind of just isn't going to be the catastrophic thing people think about. So when you see these things, you have to take them with a grain of salt. But yes, our deficit obviously is growing. How does Elon feel about that debt growing? I think Elon doesn't care anymore, bro. I think Elon's back to Tesla. I think Elon saw robo-taxis in Austin for the first time, and he was like, you know what? Doge doesn't matter. The deficit doesn't matter. What matters is just winning and manifesting the dreams that he's had for so long, because eventually that will lead to a market cap and a productivity boost that, you know, hopefully can play a role at least in helping the broader economy. But I think Elon's done caring about the government. I mean, he hasn't talked about it in like 2 weeks. So maybe he's moving on. However, to be fair to Robotaxi, though, we did get a video today on FSD 13.2.9.
So as we approach,
and let's just play this right here.
all right, so as we approach this intersection, I'm going to give you guys some context. The road straight ahead that FSD is about to attempt to drive on is actually an entrance and an exit ramp for a parkway. If it drives into that road, it is fully willing to drive into oncoming traffic. I know this is going to be hard to see on camera, but see that exit closed sign? This entrance ramp is completely closed. If FSD were to drive onto the opposite side of that road there, it would that is an entrance, excuse me, that is an exit ramp from a parkway. What FSD was about to do was drive fully into oncoming traffic with no way to get out of it. There is no bailout point past that besides going into the cones where they're doing road work. This is perhaps one of the most reckless things I've ever seen FSD attempt to do.
Obviously, not a good thing. Now, granted, the reason I'm showing this is because I showed a ton of good videos of FSD over the weekend after the Robotaxi launch. So you got to show some of the good with some of the bad. It's obviously not perfect yet. It goes to show there are going to be challenges towards doing this. LiDAR has made plenty of mistakes as well on the Waymos, but there are certain ways where these things might not happen if you are not just using AI and neural nets via cameras. The point is, all of this stuff is brand new. The age of physical AI is all new. And I was very blessed for my Boston trip for 5 hours to have 0 issues, right? So for me, like my experience was totally different than what this guy's experience had. But if I did go into ongoing traffic on some exit ramp, I would be pretty pissed off. I would not be happy about it, right? So, and this is why it's still not unsupervised, because like if that were to happen, I would have had to take control of the vehicle and immediately, get that to not be the case. So in the midst of all the hype around Tesla and the Robotaxi, et cetera, Waymo and Uber, they're expanding to Atlanta, but it's geofenced in Atlanta as well. Tesla geofenced in Austin. This is still something that is going to take some time. This is why when people say, oh, FSD is coming to Southeast Asia and Thailand, it's like, no, dude, it's like, this is something that it can barely do well in the most extreme scenarios in the United States, which is the whole point of it being unsupervised to navigate any scenario. It's not really going to be able to transport to the entire world yet. Eventually that will happen. It might take a couple decades. It will happen, but it's just not happening yet. So from that perspective, I think in terms of Tesla stock momentum, it's running with the broader market. We're going to see how Q2 earnings look. Tesla is down about 3% after going up 10% yesterday or 2 days ago. But obviously there are some edge cases around FSD that we still need to be able to work out. So there you go. Yes, that is not the Robotaxi FSD version, but also Farzad even showed a video that one of the Robotaxi dropped him off in the middle of an intersection, right? So like there's been some mistakes, and I was talking with him yesterday. He was like, yeah, there are some mistakes. It's not perfect, but the point is it's out there. It's happening. And I think also that's why Elon's like, all right, if we're this close to getting it right, I'm not going to worry about the government. I'm going to worry about making FSD ultimately a reality. Robinhood. Let's talk a little bit about Robinhood. As soon as I say let's talk about Robinhood, here's the first comment. Would you sell Hood now? The answer is no. In fact, I bought 300 shares last night. I bought 300 shares last night at 83.40 or whatever. I was up at like, what was I up at? I was up at like 2 a.m. And I just like, it just started running, and I started reading a lot of stuff last night. I saw the Coinbase upgrade. I started thinking about it logically. I'm going to lay out my thesis in a second. And I was like, you know what? I don't know, dude. This is just becoming one of those things that could be rather obvious right here. So this is what it is. 83.54 and 83.45 were my buys last night. What time was it? What time was I awake? It was like 1:40 a.m. It's like 1:40 a.m. Bought 300 more shares. And I said, you know what? All right, I'm going to buy. So my buys in the 80s are done. I bought in the 80s. I might buy more if this really starts to go on a run. But the reason for this is just pretty simple. And like this is, some people might say, all right, you're buying at all-time highs. That's a bit aggressive. I get it. I was buying at 60 and 70. Those were all-time highs as well. And, maybe July and August, we take a little bit of a breather. The reason I'm buying right here is because S&P inclusion has not happened yet. When S&P inclusion happens, unless we fall 30, 40, 50%, if these funds have to buy at $85, $90 or anything above that, I saw what happened with Palantir. And I've told you guys numerous times the mistake I made with Palantir, which was the most beloved holding I had. I went all in my portfolio in Palantir in 2022. The biggest mistake I made is that when it went on its run, I got scared of valuation and I didn't see the other dynamics outside of just the fact that, yes, the market cap was aggressive, even though the momentum was there. And with Robinhood, I'm just not doing that. I'm just not doing that. And all the things that are lining up for Robinhood are very similar in the context of what was happening for Palantir. So we have S&P inclusion that's coming up for Robinhood. That's going to be a big deal. We have a crypto event that is going to come up next week. Now, maybe that's being priced in, sure. But that crypto event is going to create reoccurring revenue streams on their transaction volumes that uniquely are high margin because crypto is their highest take rate. And that is something that I think can't be denied. If they unveil that by Q3, Q4, that is going to dramatically change the growth estimates. Granted, I want to see, do they come out with a stablecoin? Do they come out with staking? Do they come out with a tokenization platform? Do they come out with all three? All of those, I think, is why the street is getting a bit more excited about this. And if they do come out with their own stablecoin, just the hype alone around stablecoin could be something that gets them some momentum. Then let's talk about this. They came out with this yesterday. Robinhood's giving you a 1% match on any crypto deposit you bring to the platform. And they'll make it a 2% match if Robinhood users collectively bring over 500 million by July 7th, which means if you bring over your crypto to Robinhood, you will get a 1% match. And if the collective Robinhood user community brings over 500 million, there will be a 2% match. In the past 24 hours, they are already at 7.2 million that have been deposited out of the 500 million. It looks like they're going to hit at least 100 million in the next couple of days. And if they get to 500 million, they're paying 10 million, 2% of 500 million to bring over 500 million. And the 500 million they're bringing over are assets of their largest margin product, crypto. And then the new people they bring over, guess what? They're probably going to trade some crypto. They're probably going to buy some stocks. They're probably going to sign up for the 3% credit card. I mean, the network effect here is unbelievable. And thank you for this, Christopher. Robinhood banking is coming in September, which means direct deposits are going to be able to go straight to Robinhood. I can only imagine the amount of people that say, hey, I'd rather get my APY with Robinhood instead of JP Morgan, Bank of America, and just switch their direct deposit, be able to send money freely across the world with zero remittance fees. And then immediately that accelerates net deposits as well. So look, is the valuation aggressive on Robinhood? Yeah, to an extent. 72 billion, I get it. That trading at 20 times sales, that is conventionally, you could say, aggressive. But this is about momentum. And when I mean momentum, I don't mean hype. I mean actual momentum, like the definition of real momentum, which is the wind is behind you and you keep executing and innovating and you keep compounding at an aggressive rate and things go well, aka the market recognizes that based on that compounding momentum. The hype momentum is like, okay, the stock is going up, you buy it. And that's not really what I'm saying here. The stock is going up as a reflection of real momentum that's taking place. And as a result, if Q2, we get anywhere from 35 to 40% growth and Q3 looks like it's going to be the same, the street's going to be excited. The street's going to be very, very excited. Not to mention prediction markets, mortgage rates that are rolling out. I mean, there's so many other new products we haven't talked about. All of that just leads me to believe S&P inclusion is going to happen with these funds at a much higher rate, potentially 85, 90 bucks. And if these funds, which are going to be forced, let me say this again, they're going to be forced to buy these shares. We saw this with Palantir. Palantir went from 16 to basically 37, and the funds were forced to buy at 37. That day we pushed over to 39, and then a week later we were at 45. It just is too much buying pressure on the stock. Not to mention the S&P gets to all-time highs, 6,500. Bitcoin gets to 120. I mean, there's just so many catalysts at this point that to me, this is obvious. And because this is obvious, that's why I bought more. So that's what I got on Hood. It could obviously take a little bit of a dip. I would not be going balls to the wall here if you don't have a position because you have to be ready for the fact that this could come down. But in the midst of this, averaging up to me is not scary at all. And I think there's very strong compounding momentum that could take place here. So that's what we got in the context of Robinhood. Triple V, thank you for the super chat. You guys think this guy's Vlad anyway, so yes, this is Vlad Tenev of Robinhood. Thank you, Mr. Vlad Tenev, for the super chat, and also thank you for taking Robinhood to a $70 billion market cap. It's pretty incredible, dude. Yesterday on the CNBC, Joe Kernan was like, "Hey, so your market cap's 60 billion," and Robin's like, "No, I think we're a little bit above that." It was hilarious, bro. It's like it's one of those things where he's just like, "Hey, dude, like we are really executing here," and I think the market's starting to realize how much their execution is taking place. Nvidia right here, 149.76. Let's see if we can get 150. HIMS right here, 43.77. AMD 140. S&P 607. SoFi 1604. And then Hoodie right here, 85.20 currently right now. By the way, it's not Vlad Tenev. Triple V is not Vlad Tenev. That's a joke. Vlad's a little busy right now. But I do appreciate Triple V being here every single day. And he has a very, I mean, he might as well be Vlad Tenev with the amount of Hood he has. This guy has a decent chunk of Robinhood. He was up 40 million yesterday. So, I think he has 4 million shares. So if Robinhood's up $3, that's up another 12 million in the pre-market. It's fun to have money. It is fun to have money. Grab Philippines to pilot test drone deliveries. Yeah, so that's another thing that's happening with Grab. Not really moving the stock right here. Triple V did buy 1 million shares of Grab yesterday at 478 or 475, 476. The price action today that I'm going to be watching for is, can we hold 470? Because we've seen this run happen many times from 450 to 475 above the 200-day moving average, and then it kind of just stalls out. I think growth is going to accelerate. I mean, guys, just to put into context for those that don't know the revenue projections for Grab, they're expected to do $3.4 billion of revenue this year. They've done 773. So 3.4 minus 0.73. They have $2.67 billion left to do. They're going to do about 813, so minus 0.813 for next quarter. That means they have 1.857 billion for Q3, Q4. They're going to be pulling in 900 million plus in Q3, Q4. By 2025, they're going to be doing $1 billion of revenue every single quarter, upwards of that, 1.2 to 1.5 billion. And adjusted EBITDA is going to be growing 55%. I think there's a shot towards the end of the year when we get more clarity on what they're doing with their cash and for the growth rates to compound at that 1 billion per quarter. It's going to be kind of obvious to the street. The question is, if that ends up playing out. But I just want to see them hold these levels before they make their way back to $5. I think we will get back to $5, but holding 470 would be important. And in the Philippines today, they're piloting now with drone deliveries where a human picks up from where the drone leaves off. And so that is one piece of news update for Grab here today. Nato did make a post on the Genius Act. He wants yield on stablecoins. Okay, so Nato put out a long post yesterday on how SoFi would be willing to embrace the new kind of stablecoin revolution that we're seeing right here. And SoFi at $16. I mean, I think it's obvious SoFi is undervalued and it should be able to get that momentum. $20 my price target. We might blow through 20 if we really get some momentum, especially if we get rate cuts. But Nato yesterday going on the offensive saying, hey, it's time to really embrace a new financial system that understands what stablecoins could look like and how we can generate yield off that for our customers and some of the big institutions we work with. Now, one of the companies that has been hurt by about 15% is Visa from stablecoins. Here's what the Visa CEO said yesterday. It looks like he's embracing crypto and stablecoins.
And building for years, preparing for this moment. The Genius Act has now passed the Senate, as you know, and is expected to pass the House. I think that'll give regulatory clarity to stablecoins. And we've been embracing stablecoins. We've been enabling people to issue Visa credentials on top of stablecoins. We've been modernizing our own settlement infrastructure with stablecoins. And we have a whole host of innovations that we plan to deploy around the world, embracing stablecoins.
Do you believe then stablecoins are going to be a significant way that people transact in the future?
Hey, David, we think there's product market fit for stablecoins in 3 areas. The first is the capital markets use case, and you've seen that with crypto trading, and that's true globally, here in the US and around the world. But the product market fit that's most interesting going forward is outside the US. And there's 2 areas. The first is countries where you've got high currency volatility or currency controls, where people really want to have access to US dollars, and they either can't get US dollars or it's very expensive to do that. Stable coins provide an opportunity for people in those countries. Maybe there's 30, 40, 50 of those countries around the world to have easy, cost-efficient access to US dollars. And we'll plan to give them Visa credentials on top of those stable coins that they can spend in merchants around their country or other places. The second area of product market fit is cross-border, and that can be remittances, person to person, or business to business transactions. And in both of those areas, those are additive opportunities for Visa, and we're embracing stable coins and building and innovating on top of them to provide new use cases in those areas.
Right.
I think there's a little confusion because most stable coins are US dollar denominated. People immediately think about use cases in the United States, when I think most people who study this and are active in this really understand that the product market fit is outside the US.
So stablecoins have been seen as like the death of Visa, MasterCard. Visa right here, slightly down in the pre-markets. It was up about 5% yesterday. You got the CEO saying, no, it's the opposite. We're going to embrace it, and we're going to totally kind of lean in to what's playing out with stablecoins. Now, you do have some skeptics saying that even if Visa and MasterCard lean in, they're not going to be able to get the same types of payment infrastructure that stablecoins offer, which means there's just going to be less money transacting through the system. That might be right to an extent, but CEOs kind of sounded like he knew what he was doing. And the idea was that we're going to embrace them as another payment rail, and we're going to implement them into our infrastructure for things like remittances, which theoretically could be something that only accelerates the level of money that flows through Visa and MasterCard. Will there be some loss of market share, like some money that's just not going to go through these two? Sure. But the idea that these guys are dead, I mean, these are multi-$100 billion companies. Visa is at $650 billion. MasterCard's at $500 billion. I don't know if Circle is going to take them out of business. Circle, by the way, is down 1.8%. This thing, if you bought it anywhere above 220, so far you are red on this one. And I think a lot of that money, honestly, went from Circle to Coinbase. Coinbase right here up another 5%. Jason did some really good TA yesterday on Coinbase. It has been waiting to get a base above 355. 355 has been resistance for the past 5 years, ever since they IPO'd in 2020. And we're above that. So this is when breakouts can be incredibly violent. In fact, for all the Google fans, Jason did say that Google's chart looks very similar to Coinbase's chart. It doesn't have that same multi-year level of resistance, but it does have many, many months of that resistance at that 170 level. And if we can break through above that and really hold above that, then there's a good shot that, in his opinion, Google can go on a bit of a Coinbase run back up to like 220. But nonetheless, it's getting that momentum. This is what Coinbase was upgraded to at JMP. They said Coinbase shares are up 40% in June compared to the S&P 500, up 3%, which still doesn't reflect Circle's impact. We reiterate our market perform and outrating. The pace of news flows around Coinbase has been torrid over the past few weeks, and even after a 40% stock move in June, we do not believe the market is fully connecting the dots, particularly around Coin's relationship with Circle, which recently completed a successful IPO and has moved materially higher since then. The idea here is that 50% of Circle's revenues ultimately are going to be coming to Coinbase. And so while people were buying Circle, which is fine, a lot of that money ends up going to Coinbase, even if the payments go through Circle stablecoin, which obviously can be very effective. This is a chart right here to kind of understand what this looks like. As you can see, Coinbase net revenues just from the total interest from USDC backed by 44 billion in reserves would be 907 million compared to Circle at 768 million. So you do have some momentum on Coinbase and a lot of these crypto names that are starting to embrace much more of what the future looks like. Not to mention Bitcoin getting some love. We got the market open in 5 minutes. Look at Bitcoin right here, 107.8. It was at 98 on Saturday night. So it is getting some love right here. Again, I think there's just too many institutions at this point that are in bed with Bitcoin. And it's going to be hard to see this one kind of take a hit. Let's look at some other stocks. BBAI, this one pumped 25%. It's up another 11%. This one to me is absolutely pure momentum. So if you're chasing this, you just got to watch out for the fact that things are running. And if you get in, you got to make sure you know when to get out. But this one is down from $10, which is the all-time high. SoundHound right here, that one's up 3%. QBTS, quantum name, that one's up about 1%. Qubit was down 20% on Monday. That one is up about 2% on the day, whereas GME, GameStop, that's up 0.5%. ASTS, I think, still below 50 or just above 50, 50.03 right there. Rocket Lab is at 34. Wow, Rocket Lab, 34.22. My goodness. BlackBerry, not a bad earnings. That one's up 10%. Currently right now, Rocket Lab absolutely crushing it. Incredible. 34.15. That's up about 2.06%. Archer right here, 10.85. And then Nebius, this one as well, is up 5%. After the market opens, we'll take a look at some of the ETFs or the ETF challenge. But AppLovin started to recover for Tanner, which is really good. UNH as well, up at 305, 304.72. Not too bad. Marvell, this is one of Chris's picks. Jason really likes this one right here, up about 2%. HIMS is the only one that's really hurting Steve, but I'm curious, bro, if HIMS can get the recovery. It has just not gotten the recovery yet. Still stuck basically between 40 and 43. Getting above 50 would start to see people getting excited. Also, Andrew Dudum yesterday had some piece on Bloomberg. He responded and he basically gave a big fat middle finger to Novo Nordisk and was like, look, we're just not going to take what people say. We're not going to let them strong arm us, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, he was pretty damn upset. The exact quote was that we're not going to cave to Novo's demands over our GLP-1 medicines. So it's little pharma going up against big pharma, which is not going to be easy, but this is the journey that if you're a HIMS investor, you have to be able to deal with right now. Rocket Lab selected to launch ESA's first LEO PNT satellites for Europe's next-gen navigation system. All right, there you go. That is your headline for why the Lab of Rockets is pumping 2.3% right here in the pre-markets. Yeah, CleanSpark was up 13%. Bitcoin miners getting some love. Iran was up 10%. So you're starting to see a lot of different things move, which is not too bad. Do we have any data today? Let's see. Today's Wednesday. We get new home sales today at 10 a.m. Powell's going to be testifying again, but he's going to say the same thing he said yesterday. He did have an interesting exchange yesterday with Rashida Tlaib, who asked him to explain the difference between supply and demand. And Powell visibly took a sigh. You could like hear the sigh. He was like, well, supply-driven inflation, blah, blah, and he started getting into it. And she got kind of annoyed because it seemed like he was annoyed that she asked the question. And so she was like, I'm being serious. Like this, I have a question. And he was like, well, I'm answering your question. But yeah, we have our representatives that we elected to learn about supply and demand here. But outside of that, we didn't get too much from the testimony. I mean, Jay Powell just said, we got to look for the data. Fear and greed, by the way, folks, is not that aggressive. It's at greed, but it's at a 57. I mean, it feels like we're a little bit above 57, which is kind of scary because if we're only at a 57, and again, there's a lot of money on the sidelines on hedge funds and money market funds, you can imagine that money coming in. Now, that money is probably going to be waiting for a dip, but if the dip is 1 or 2% and they buy it, like we're not really going to see any substantial dips. Reddit's up 6% as well. Reddit got upgraded to 180 yesterday. The market's just, a lot of these analysts are getting excited about their AI advertising tools, even if their Google search thing is a headwind. And Reddit's very high beta. So when it runs, it can really run. So if they have a good earnings, I mean, that could be pretty strong for Reddit. Oh yeah, this is another thing. Thank you for this, Fabio. 7 cuts Morgan Stanley said today are expected in 2026. I didn't read the full report they came out with, but they are saying 7 cuts they're expecting in 2026. Well, we'll read a little bit more of the report after the opening bell. And so Morgan Stanley saying, hey, we think the Fed is going to have no choice but to cut 7 times. Now, that could be theoretically bearish, but to an extent, if the market's not pricing in any meaningful cuts in 2026, the summary of economic projections said 1 cut, and we get 7. That could be another thing that's very, very bullish for the broader market as well. But ultimately, we got to see. We got to see if that ends up happening. All right, here we go. 20 seconds. 20 seconds. We are all a bunch of junkies every morning or afternoon for those internationally that stare at candlesticks going up and down, see stock numbers go either up 2%, down 2%. But you know what? I think we all absolutely love it. Wednesday, June 25th, the stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Let's get into it. Robinhood gets rejected at 85. Again, 85 was all-time highs, 84.54. 84.54. Today's going to be very important to see. Can we hold the 80s? Can we hold 81, 82, 84.54? That's up about 2.1%, but down from the pre-markets. Palantir, wow. All-time highs on Palantir. All-time highs on Palantir. 145.42, 144.80 was the previous all-time high. Busted right through it. 145.45 right there on Palantir. Tesla 342, Nvidia 149.78. Nvidia did not get over 150, got to 149.90. Let's see if we can get above that. But Palantir 145. Let's check 146 resistance and see if we are potentially in the running to go higher. Oh, I think it's going for 146. Oh my. Oh my. That is 20 cents away. 146 resistance is 37,000 shares. 37,000 shares for Palantir. AMD right here is at 140. S&P 608. SoFi 1612. Great open for SoFi. Google 168. Grab 474. Reddit 151. Wow, Reddit up 7%. Amazon 215. Meta 716. Palantir 146. Palantir 146. Folks, that is a new all-time high. Nvidia's 8 cents away, 3 cents away from 150. I think it wants 150. Let's see if it can get there. It's getting a lot of resistance at that final stretch up to get to 150, but it is absolutely trying. I'll pull up resistance in a second. TMC, that stock is up. Where is SoFi 1614, HIMS 4463? That's up 4%. Not too bad. Palantir again 145.70. Tesla is down. Tesla goes red. That's the first big red one of the day. Microsoft, oh my, $7 away from 500. All-time highs on Microsoft. All-time highs on Microsoft. AppLovin 356, that's up 2%. Circle, that's up a little bit on the day. MicroStrategy is up 2.4. MicroStrategy getting some love. Has not been in the 390s for a minute. 150 resistance. Yo, Triple V, we need some help. 2.5 million shares for Nvidia at 150. That's why this thing is not getting above that level. Let's see, dude. Oh, no, we touched it. I think we touched it, folks. I still see that wall, though. We touched it, but I still see that wall, so it hasn't definitively gone over that. I think it's about to in a second, though. Usually when it touches it, but there's still that wall, that means it's getting ready to get over it. Let's see if it can get up there. Palantir 146. It keeps going. 146.40 on Palantir. I will check 147 resistance in a second. Palantir saying we are not holding back. Market cap now on Palantir is $345 billion, right back to 146. 147 resistance, I don't think is that aggressive. 147 is 32,000 shares, which is not that aggressive. Robinhood right here, back to 85. Back to 85, not in the pre-markets, as the market has opened, which means we have officially hit all-time highs, 85.15. It has been 4 long years from the previous all-time high, if you look at this chart, but we are back. We are back at all-time highs. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Nvidia, we touched 150 for a second, but that wall I'm looking at of 2.5 million shares is still there. Is it still there? Yeah, it's still there. So I think we need a little bit more volume to just get right above that. But it looks like it's going to get there. 145.99. It looks like it has a shot to get right above it. Robinhood again, 84.97. Palantir 145.77. Google 169. Google trying to get to 170. Lockheed Martin's up a little bit. Nubank's actually down. It was up 9% yesterday. DoorDash up about 1%. Iran right here up about 2.4%. Big Bear AI is up another 7%. You got Lyft right here that's up a little bit. Uber is slightly green. Again, Palantir 145.62. Nvidia, there she goes, 150. There it is. The 2.5 million shares have been bought. We are above 150, and now she is flying past 150 as we might be in territory for blue skies. We might be in territory for blue skies. There you go, 150 on Nvidia. There it is. Dude, we got to buy this thing at 103 after DeepSeek. I think my lowest buy was like 97. I didn't get the 86 lows, but we got to buy this after DeepSeek at one. I mean, shout out to the Chinese, bro. They gave us a nice 40% retracement on the greatest company on the planet that is growing faster than every company at their scale. And retail got to take advantage of that. 149.82 right here on Nvidia. HIMS getting some love. HIMS 6%. Hey, the path to 50, maybe it comes back. I mean, getting above 50 psychologically would be very important for HIMS. Maybe people are buying it just based on what Andrew said yesterday to Bloomberg, and people have more faith in their ability to withstand the pharma attack. HIMS right there, 45.93, trying to break just above 46. 45.97 is where it got hit at. Nvidia still holding 150. Nvidia 149.88, just about getting there. Palantir 145.18, up 1.3, and then SoFi 1620. S&P 608. S&P, I think 612 is all-time highs. S&P, 612. We're at 608. So we are very close to getting there. Amazon is green. Meta is green. What about Apple? Apple is green, up 1.27%. Apple getting a bit. Circle right here, down 2.7%. Let's look at Steve's ETF. Everything is green except Micron. They got earnings later today. PayPal's up. Salesforce is up. Netflix, new all-time high. CrowdStrike, 493. CrowdStrike's about to get back to 500. This thing fell to 430 on earnings. Broadcom, all-time high. HIMS, again, up 7.3%. There you go. HIMS above 46. MicroStrategy, 383. Microsoft, 493. Meta, 713. Let's look at Chris's ETF. You got Google that's up, UNH slightly down on the day, down about 1%. Axon's up, Marvell's up, Alpha's down, Oracle is down a little bit, Cisco is up, Lilly is down, Novo still down 3%, and then Take-Two, that one is also green. And you got Tanner's ETF, pretty much everything green as well, outside of Nubank and Shopify. ABCL last night, bro. Matt's got this in his ETF, which is why Matt's running away with this challenge. It was up another 10%. It's holding this 10%. Nvidia back to 150. ABCL went from $2 to $4 in the past, call it 3 weeks, basically. I mean, look at this chart. Look at this shit. It was at $2.08 on May 28th, literally 3 weeks ago. It's at 401. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible right here. Tesla is down. Tesla's down. Tesla's taking a little bit of a breather after the past couple of days. Tesla is down. So you got Tessie that's down. Is Grab moving? Grab is down. Grab also right here is red. This 470 area is important for it to hold. So hopefully we can not kind of tread back into the 450s, but still holding above 470, although it is red. AMD as well. Great day, 141. And then Nvidia, if we can get a close above 150, I think would be very, very exciting. Google 170. Are we back? There you go. Google 170. All right. So money's coming back to big tech, folks. And then you got Little Hoodie. Little Hoodie at 85. So cool, bro. So cool to see all-time highs. It's pretty dope. It's pretty freaking dope. And the thing that's exciting about this is just like we know the catalysts are coming. I mean, what if Hood dips to like 75? You're going to get people that want to buy. You're going to get people that are seeing the thesis. And the good thing about this is, here's the best thing about what's happening with Hood. This is the best thing that no one talks about that's happening with Hood. We're in a bull market right now, which is really, 99% of the reason why Hood's getting all this momentum. Eventually, we will have a bear market. That is going to happen. And Hood will go down when that happens. The entire market will go down when that happens. Pounds right here, 146.60. Let me check 147 resistance. But if Robinhood can diversify enough in the bull market when the times are good, so that when times are bad, they have all these products that are not contingent on stocks going up and down for them to make transaction volumes off crypto or options, that is when Robinhood will not have a 2022 type of collapse, which was down 80%, and they might go down 30%, which in a bull market or a bear market, depending on how bad it is, 30% might be relatively reasonable for one stock to go down, or 20% or 35%, whatever it is. But if they can keep diversifying with Robinhood banking and prediction markets and mortgage rates and all this stuff while times are good, so that they can be accretive to the business when times get bad, because times inevitably will get bad, then those dips will be easily buyable because they won't be that bad in terms of the market reaction. And you'll know you're buying something that is becoming more diversified. In terms of Palantir, 147. Oh, we already checked resistance. 32,000 shares. 32,000 shares. Not too crazy. Is SMCI going up? SMCI, wow, 5%. SMCI getting some momentum. What did your sister say about the performance yesterday? Okay, dude, my sister, I don't even think she looked at her portfolio. So I had to leave early from the market close to go visit some family friend. My sister was supposed to come with us. I don't know if you guys know, but it's like 110 degrees in New Jersey. And my sister, she works at a school and it was a graduation, and she was like so exhausted from the heat yesterday because apparently the graduation didn't have an AC in whatever stadium they were in. And she came home and she just went to sleep. Like she didn't even talk about her portfolio. I don't even think she saw her portfolio yesterday, but I saw it and it was at all time highs. So it was doing pretty well. But yeah, I don't think she so this is what I'm saying. Like, people have real lives. They're not like junkies looking at stocks go up and down. So she didn't care. But hopefully when she does look at it, she'll be happy. 150 on Nvidia. Wow. Are we going for 151? Are we finally done with the 140s? Are we moving on for Nvidia? Are we moving on? Yeah, put the year to date in the chat if you want to do it. Let's do it right now. Put the year to date in the chat in case by the market close everything goes down. Let's embrace it right now. 151 has 380,000 shares. 380,000 shares. Surf Mobility is halted. Surf Mobility is halted. Oh, wow. 151. Dude, as I say the resistance, we break through. 151.15 on Nvidia. Done. And then Palantir's 10 cents away from 147. Again, every time Palantir gets that close, she tends to break through. Again, Palantir, Nvidia, twinning. Palantir's not going to let Nvidia get to 150 without it. So maybe it's going after it as well. Oh, I see a lot of 40s, 50s, 80s, 70s in the chat. I see a lot. Of greens. Nvidia all-time high was 153. Nvidia all-time high was 153. I'm at 57 year to date. 57% year to date. Dude, this is talk about a market, bro. Talk about a market that was left for dead in April and May, April and March. Retail came in, gave it a bid. S&P was at 4,800. You could blink and you would have missed that the S&P fell to the levels of 2022. Do you guys remember the day where Trump said we're going to pause the tariffs for 90 days and we rallied 10% in less than 2 hours? Like those days happened. Like those were real things that happened this year. And now we're gunning for trying to get back to all-time highs. And the S&P is, I mean, we're still, how much is the S&P up year to date? It's up 4%. All the stuff we went through, it's up 4%. And a lot of us, you know, again, that just took advantage of that dip. You're vastly and meaningfully outperforming the S&P 500 here, which is just incredible. Shout out to Arnie right here. Dude, shout out to Arnie on ABCL. Arnie's been talking about this for a while. I think about a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago, he got really interested in it. And there's a little bit of an ABCL community forming on X. I think him and Jack Prescott, you guys might know Jack Prescott. He's been also tweeting about it as well. We're probably going to do a deep dive on this in like a month. We're going to do Lemonade tomorrow. So Lemonade deep dive is happening tomorrow. And then hopefully we can do ABCL maybe a week after that. But yeah, we will talk more about this one. It is a more speculative name. This is one of those names you kind of hold and you don't expect much for the next decade. But if it does work, you know, it could be a very big winner right here. But you're not going to get any major returns in a short period of time, or you just can't expect it. But if you bought at 2 a month ago, it's at 4. You're getting some momentum right here. 57% also for me. Oh wow, look at this. Arnie and I are twinning. Dude, Arnie and I were talking about this. All right, so Arnie's up 57%, I'm up 57%. Arnie and I were talking about this last night. It's like I don't know if we will find another Hood or Palantir the way they've manifested themselves. I mean, both of these were from 8 to 80. We were lucky enough to experience both of these together from 8 to 80. We both basically analyzed them together when we really got interested in the names. And I don't know. Everyone's saying, what's the next Hood or Palantir? I don't know, bro. What's the next one that goes on a journey from 8 to 80 with a CEO you can trust and a company that just constantly executes? I don't know what that company is. I don't know if we're ever going to find it. I don't want to be pessimistic, but like, goodness, dude, it is hard to find these names. And whatever the name is, Arnie and I better agree on it. It's not Grab because Arnie doesn't agree on Grab yet. So it can't be Grab. Until Arnie agrees, it's not happening. So we got to see. Whenever we do agree, we will let you guys know. Maybe it's Tesla. Yeah, but the Tesla story already happened. The Tesla, like the Tesla probably still has over its lifetime another 10 to 20x. And I know people might say that's way too bullish, but I do think if Optimus scales, you know, this thing can get to 10, 20 trillion. It's not crazy when Elon says that. But the Tesla story has already happened. The Palantir story is just beginning. And folks, Palantir just hit an all-time high at 140 freaking 7 Palantir. Congratulations, 147 all-time highs. Yeah, none of you guys are working from home today. No one's freaking working from home. No one's. Don't even try to tell me you're working from home. Get your wireless mouse ready to freaking move a little bit on the Teams thing so it shows that you're active on Microsoft. Like no one's working from home. I can already tell. Tesla right here down about 1.2%. HIMS still up 7%. Nvidia 151.23. 152 resistance at 300,000 shares. Hoodie 84.36. Palantir 147. Lucas says I'm working from vacation in Europe. Dude, this has got to be. This is like my idea of a vacation. Is I am in a hotel with air conditioning, a great view, and I have Wi-Fi. That's my idea of a vacation. And I can look at my stocks, even if I'm in some different countries. So if that's what you're doing on vacation right now, congrats. There's nothing better than being on vacation, knowing that you're spending money to pay for the vacation, and then realizing that up 3% on Palantir might be paying for the vacation, at least on paper. I think she wants 148, folks. I actually think she wants 150, but let's take a look at 148 resistance. 148 is 42,000 shares. Again, that's not a lot. That's just not a lot for Palantir. That's just not a lot for Palantir. Nvidia right here, 151.30. Iran is up 4% on the day. Big Bear AI, that one is now down. It was up 10% in the pre-market. That one is now down. SoundHound is also down a little bit. Reddit was at 150. Reddit's at 151. That one continues to move. That's up 8%. And then Bitcoin's at what? 108. Bitcoin Grab below 470. All right, so Grab not being able to hold on to the 470s right here. 467. Google is at 170, trying, getting a little bit of red candle at 169. Elf 121, and then Salesforce 271. Amazon right here is at 213. Zeta, this was a big hype stock. Zeta is down 1%. Oscar is flat. And Lemonade is down 3%. Palantir still 147.35 currently right now. Where is the lab of Rockets? Rocket Lab is just below 34. Just below 34. Yeah, Surf Air Mobility up another 50%. Again, this is super speculative. This is small cap pumped 100% yesterday, 52% today. If you chased it and you're up, congrats. They do stuff around eVTOLs. Palantir actually has a partnership with them. I actually don't know why they're running. I imagine it's some headline, but definitely retail getting a hold of this one, and that one is pumping currently right now. QS is up 43%. Is this a quantum name? Yeah, quantum name. Wow. All right. I don't know. Why is that one up 43%? The other quantum names are not following with that. Is there any like meaningful update around their quantum computers that got it, or price upgrade or anything like that? QuantumScape right here up 42%. Short squeeze. Yo, Skrelly, dude, does he still have the short? Dude, he needs these things to go to zero for his short to be right. And they might go down, but I don't know if they're going to zero. Maybe because he started shorting them when they were not at zero. So he needs a meaningful move to the downside here. Quantum's starting to feel a bit more normalized. You got people that are coming in and buying it. Also, I think IONQ got an upgrade there. No, QBTS got an upgrade. They got the upgrade to like $20, I think, a couple of days ago. Like when you got the street upgrading you, the street doesn't always have to be right, but still it helps, when the street puts out some upgrades and higher price targets. Definitely makes it a little difficult for it to continuously get hit. Bumble's up 26%? Really? Why is Bumble up today? Dude, some of these names are moving in a weird way, and that's making me very curious. What's causing that? Is it just random momentum? Are there headlines here? We get new home sales in about 20 minutes or in about 12 minutes. Bumble. Yeah, QBTS got 3 upgrades to $20. There you go. Bumble. Okay, what is this? Bumble approved a reduction in the company's global workforce by approximately 240 employees. They're so they're firing people. So they're firing. It's up because they're fired 250 people. That's not the best reason for a stock to be up, bro. That's not. I mean, if that's why it's up, I can understand why it's up because of that. But dude, the play in dating was Grindr. We've talked about this many times. The thesis was always Grindr. Grindr right here, 2216. It's not Match Group. It was not. By the way, I was listening to an interview yesterday of the founder of Hinge, who he popped up on this Instagram reel, and he was talking about how he built the app. It's a wild story, bro. A wild, wild story. Like, he used Hinge to find his ex-girlfriend who became his wife, and his ex-girlfriend left her husband at the altar to go get back with him because they met on Hinge. Like, it's some crazy story. But yeah, Hinge is not public. So I think Grindr is kind of the core way to play dating. BlackBerry is up. Where's BlackBerry? So they, again, I looked at a little bit of their earnings yesterday. BlackBerry up 22%. It was a decent earnings. Their revenue growth is flat year over year, but I think they increased some of their guidance for the second half of the year and some of their profitability stuff. So this one right here up 21% on the day. That one is getting some momentum right here. And that one's been flat for the past couple months. So again, a lot of people are like, is BlackBerry dead? Like, why is BlackBerry even still around? They used to make phones. They've completely pivoted from making cell phones, and they're now a new whole thing with cybersecurity and software for automotives. And last night's earnings, I guess, is giving the market a lot more confidence. Also, market cap is pretty small. I mean, like, it's a $3 billion company. So definitely doesn't take a ton to move this one. SoFi right here, 1614. That's up 2%. Oh, Match Group owns Hinge? Oh, wow. Like, okay, I guess Hinge is public. Dude, they own everything then. Why is their stock so shitty? They own Tinder, they own Hinge. They might as well acquire Bumble. Like, their stock has not really made a move for a long time. All right, I guess they are public. Palantir right here, 146. So we got rejected at 147.67. 148 again. Has about 42,000 shares. That is not a lot. Bitcoin's back to 108. Where is HIMS? HIMS right here, 44.75. WeRide, this is a Chinese company, right? This is a Chinese automotive ride hailing app, if I'm not wrong, about WeRide. That one at 810. That one is up a decent chunk over the past month. Getting some love. Yeah, right there from 712 to 8. AMD 140. All right, so we're getting some red candles across the board. That's okay. Getting some red candles across the board. 20 minutes later after the market open, we are seeing some red. I think that's reasonable. That's okay. Rocket Lab dumped. Yep, there you go. Rocket Lab getting a little bit of a dump. Well, it's not, I mean, well, I guess, yeah, from 34.50 to 33.50. That is down about $1. Basically flat on the day. Palantir still holding 146. I mean, still a new all-time high for Palantir. And then Hoodie, 83.77, not holding 85. But I think if we see anywhere back to 80, you're going to have people that jump in and buy this thing. Momentum is pretty damn strong for Hoodie. Tesla's getting hit the worst. My goodness, dude. Tesla's giving back a lot of those gains, folks. Tesla was at, what, 357 on Monday? Now back to 330. This is Tesla. This is why the covered call premiums and the put premiums are so juicy. The volatility of it going up and down is why the market gets excited about this. Trump is talking at NATO. I don't think Trump's saying anything that important. I mean, most of the stuff he said, he already put out in his previous statements. Also, he's not live yet. We'll switch over to it in a little bit, see if he's saying anything, but he's not live yet. The stream is up, but he's not live yet. I was re-listening to the post he made, or not the post, but the like video he made about cursing yesterday. And he said Israel and Iran don't know what the F they're doing, which, by the way, has become one of the best memes ever. I mean, people have been taking that and putting it into so many different situations. And you could really tell he was upset, bro. You could tell that was the first time I've seen him, outside of him tweeting in caps locks, that he's genuinely upset. Like he really wanted them to chill out because he feels like, you know, like it's time to move on. But that video is being memed now in a variety of ways. Apple announced visual voicemails. Okay. Apple visual voicemails. What does that even mean? What's a visual voicemail? What is that? Like, who even does anyone listen to their voicemail anymore? Don't tell me people actually go to their. Do people even leave messages for people after the bell, after the tone? Like, that's not even a thing anymore, right? Like, you just send a text. It's kind of hard to imagine it. Sam, thank you for the $50 super chat. Admit MasterCard partner with Chainlink to allow users to purchase crypto directly on chain. I feel like everyone is sleeping on Chainlink. You can't do tokenization without them. Would love for you to do DD on Chainlink. I have heard of this blockchain for the past year now. I think it would be prudent, especially in the new stablecoin era and tokenization era, to do a deep dive on them. So I will put them on the list. I actually know a couple people on Twitter that have been talking about it for a pretty long time. So yes, 100% we can do a deep dive on Chainlink, and probably makes sense given all these platforms are coming out with tokenization. So yeah, we'll put that on the list as well. And thank you for the super chat. Where is Snapchat right here? Snappy is 834. That one's flat. Palantir still holding 146. Robinhood 84. Tessie 331. Hims 44. Nvidia. I think Nvidia is showing the most strength. 151 on the day. Yeah, voicemail not even set up, right? Voicemail's not set up. I don't know, dude. All right, let's look at the ETF challenge. Let's see how we're doing there. Let's see who's in the lead today. I think obviously Matt is still leading. But we are getting some recoveries across the board. All right, so Matt is up 11%. I'm up 2. Steve's up 1. Tanner's up 6. Chris is up 0. So it's Matt, Tanner, Amit, Steve, Chris. Matt, Tanner, Amit, Steve, Chris. Matt's just crushing everybody, dude. Even his risky picks like ABCL are doing so well, bro. It's hard. It's gonna be hard for him to lose if the most risk-adjusted picks, or the least risk-adjusted picks, like an ABCL, are getting this momentum. So, yeah, he is definitely getting some love right here. Where is DJT? We haven't looked at this one in a while. They announced a buyback the other day, 1850. That's up 1.6. Palantir 146, and then a Hoodie 84.45. 84.45. Circle recovering a little bit. Let's see. This one was down 2%. Circle right here. No, that's down 5%. Is my Circle put up? I have one put on Circle. I think it's still down because I bought it at 200. I am, yeah, still down 1%. So I don't know, dude. It's a hedge. Maybe Circle comes back down to reality, but Coinbase is getting a lot of love based on the stablecoin news. It's just the stablecoin news is because of Circle. It's just the market's pricing in a lot of that revenue coming into Coinbase. So coin getting some excitement right here. Tanner's always lurking right there in the chat. He said, y'all are betting on me to be last. We'll see. Tanner, the thing is, we love you. And if you win, it's amazing. But if you win without SoFi, it's the part that, like, if you just had SoFi there, it would, like, everyone would have loved you winning. But if you win with Nubank, like, you know, you're going to get the credit. You're going to freaking have a Brazilian bank get you the victory over SoFi. To be fair, though, Nubank is, I think, outperforming SoFi ever since he picked. So he's a good stock picker. He picked the right stocks. Matt Money just swept in and took this bad boy. AppLovin was Tanner's worst pick, but that one's recovering. Also, that one didn't, I mean, look, yes, it was hyped up to get into the S&P, but it didn't deserve to fall almost like 25%. So that one was a drag on his portfolio for a while. That one's recovering. And then he has this monster in Coinbase. I mean, to Tanner's credit, I thought that was a stupid pick. I was like, Tanner, what are you talking about? Like, when Bitcoin falls, like, this is just a Bitcoin business. And quite frankly, they have diversified from just being a quote unquote Bitcoin business with all this payment shit they put out over the past basically 14 days. I mean, you got to think of Coinbase a little different. I really just think I just thought they were a crypto exchange. Bitcoin goes down, they're not going to get diversified revenue streams. And this whole stablecoin thing, along with their new payments infrastructure, along with different partnerships with companies like Shopify, I mean, you just can't deny that even if Bitcoin were to tank, Coinbase is not just a crypto exchange. So that one really leading his portfolio as well. Tesla right here at 331, Palantir 146, then Nvidia 151. And then obviously he has Nvidia, which probably is going to do very well. Yeah, tons of retail products as well. Exactly. Canadians can't even win the Stanley Cup. How can they win the stock contest? Dude, who won the Stanley Cup? It was Florida, right? Stanley Cup winner. It was the Panthers, Florida Panthers. Right? Yeah, the Panthers. Okay, yeah, so the United States got a Stanley Cup winner. Can you explain how you see resistance on Robinhood? I use it specifically of Robinhood. There's a lot of websites that do it. You click on the yellow arrow icon on the stock, and then it shows you the resistance. So let me just do it right here. That yellow button right there, you click that, the yellow arrow, and then boom, you get the order book flow. And then you can see the resistance. You can do this on desktop as well. Webull has it for free. Robinhood, you have to pay $5 a month for this, but Webull, it just shows you right on the app. So 142 resistance on Nvidia is, 499,000 shares. So it's up from about 300,000. All right, is Trump live? All right, let's flip over to Trump and let's see what he's saying.
Right here running this wonderful country. Now, as the NATO Secretary General is doing a fantastic job, and the Prime Minister. We appreciate everything you've done. And as you know, last weekend, the United States successfully carried out a massive precision strike on Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities, and it was very, very successful. It was called obliteration. No other military on earth could have done it, and now this incredible exercise of American strength has paved the way for peace with a historic ceasefire agreement late Monday, and we call it the 12-day war. Spoke to a few people. I guess that just sounded like the right name. It was a 12-day war, and we think it's over. I don't think they're going to be going back at each other. I don't think so. Not only have we dealt decisively with the critical threat of Iran's nuclear program, which was what I wanted. I said, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've said that for 15 years, long before I decided to do the political thing. But we've also reasserted the credibility of American deterrence, which is like no other. The people at NATO said there's never been anything. I rebuilt the entire military during my first term. And we have a great military. We have great generals. I got to know the good ones and the bad ones. We kept the good ones. Over the past 2 days, I was honored to participate in the NATO leaders meeting and also had extremely good individual discussions with the King and the Queen, Secretary General Rutte, and the Prime Minister. Great discussions, very knowledgeable people. Major focus of our conversations at the summit was the need for other NATO members to take up the burden of the defense of Europe, and that included the financial burden. As you know, it was 2%, and we got it up to 5%. And they said, a couple of them came up to me. One in particular said, "Sir, we've been trying to get it up to 3% for 20 years, and we haven't been able, and you got it up to 5%. So they're going to be, most of them, I guess almost all of them, are going to be contributing now 5%, a number that people are surprised at, but you need it today. The United States spending, and since I began pushing for additional commitments in 2017, believe it or not, our allies have increased spending by $700 billion. I said to people, you don't have any money, and a lot of them weren't paying. And so I started the process, and I picked it up as soon as I got back, which is 6 months ago. And following my election last November, almost all have accelerated plans to reach the 2%, 3%, 4%, and then ultimately, very quickly, 5%. And all of this is going to be done very quickly, almost immediately. You probably know this as well as I do. I'm sure they've been talking about it. It's really been a big focus. In a very historic milestone this week, the NATO
Home sales, guys, that just broke 14% month over month, down 6.7%. U.S. new May home sales were 623,000 versus 693. Again, another reason for J-Pow to cut, but that is a bit of a nasty home sales number. Again, 14% down, not year over year, but at this point, month over month.
commitment, which is pretty good, pretty appropriate. When the Allies reach this number, it will add more than $1 trillion a year. Think of that, $1 trillion per year to our common defense. And this is a monument really to victory, but it's a monumental win for the United States, because we were carrying much more than our fair share. It was quite unfair, actually. But this is a big win for Europe and for actually Western civilization. For years, past administrations failed to get most allies to contribute even the 2%. I remember when I came here, we had 4 countries that were up to 2%. And I remember Poland was there. A couple of them were there. And but most of them were. We had 28 at the time. As you know, it's increased a little bit. And they've agreed now to more than double their budgets in all cases. And Europe stepping up to take more responsibility for its security will help prevent future disasters like the horrible situation with Russia and Ukraine. And hopefully we're going to get that solved. Last week, they lost 7,000 soldiers, mostly soldiers, but they're also getting hit in Kiev. They're getting hit in some of the towns also. And that means life. Life is disappearing also in the cities and towns. Should have never happened, would have never happened if I was president. I said it 1,000 times, and it never did happen. It's never even thought about. But it's vital that this additional money be spent on very serious military hardware, not bureaucracy. And hopefully that hardware is going to be made in America, because we have the best hardware in the world. You saw that, where 14 missiles were shot at us the other day. And they were very nice. They gave us warning. They said, we're going to shoot them. Is 1 o'clock okay? They said, it's fine. And everybody was emptied off the base, so they couldn't get hurt except for the gunners. They call them the gunners. And out of 14 high-end missiles that were shot at the base in Qatar, all 14, as you know, were shot down by our equipment. Amazing stuff. Amazing that they can do. It's like shooting a bullet with a bullet. It's the same thing if you think about it. 14 out of 14, and they weren't even that surprised. I said, do you do that well often? They say, we pretty much do, sir. The Ukraine crisis has also highlighted the urgency of rebuilding our defense industrial base, both in the United States and among the allied nations. We cannot afford to be dependent on foreign adversaries for critical minerals. And as you know, we made a deal with Ukraine to take a vast amount of the land they have for minerals. We need it. And once again, I want to thank all of the people in the Netherlands, incredible people. It's a great place. And all of the NATO allies for the tremendous summit that we just had. A letter just came in and a statement came in from the Atomic Energy Commission of Israel. And I just wanted, this is an official letter, and they're very serious people, as you know. The devastating U.S. strike on Fordo destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility totally inoperable. It was devastated. We assess that the American strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities has set back Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons for many years to come. This achievement can continue indefinitely if Iran does not get access to nuclear material, which it won't. It's so sad that that whole thing had to go. But I just want to thank our pilots. You know, they were maligned and treated very bad, demeaned by fake news CNN, which is back there, believe it or not, wasting time, wasting it. Nobody's watching them. So they're just wasting a lot of time, wasting my time. And the New York Times, they put out a story that, well, maybe they were hit, but it wasn't bad. Well, it was so bad that they ended the war. It ended the war. Somebody said in a certain way, you know, that it was so devastating, actually. If you look at Hiroshima, if you look at Nagasaki, you know, that ended a war too. This ended a war in a different way, but it was so devastating. Also, they have out of Dubai, just came that Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, this is Iran's foreign ministry, says it's near its nuclear installations were very badly damaged by the American strike. So what bothered me about these reports with fake reports put out by the New York Times, failing, I call it the failing New York Times because it's doing terribly. Without me, it would be doing no business at all. But, and by fake news, CNN and MSDNC, all of these terrible people, you know, they have no credibility. You know, when I started, they were at 94% credibility, the media. Now it's at 16%. And I'm very proud of it because I've exposed it for what it is. But when I saw them starting to question the caliber of the attack, was it bad? Well, it was really bad. It was devastating. They were obliterated. In fact, you can't get into the tunnels. They just put that over. That just came out. They can't, there's nothing, there's no way you can even get down. The whole thing is collapsed in a disaster. And I think all of the nuclear stuff is down there because it's very hard to remove. And we did it very quickly. When they heard we were coming, it was, you know, you can't move it. Very hard, very dangerous actually to move to. And they also knew we were coming. So I don't think too many people want to be down there knowing we're coming with the bunker busters, as we call them. We're the only ones that have them. We have the best equipment, best nuclear equipment, and we have the best equipment in the world. And by the way, we can't forget our submarine, which was out there, submarines actually, but submarine was out there. We shot 30 rockets into an area, every single one of them. I think it was almost 400 miles away, I think, Pete, right? 400 and long. It was in the ocean, long ways away. And we shot a total of 30. Every single one of them hit within 9 inches from where it was supposed to be. It took out a lot because we didn't do just Fordo. We did 2 others in addition, which hadn't been completely destroyed. So we hit them with a submarine from hundreds of miles away. Amazing, just amazing equipment. Greatest submarines in the world. Nobody's even close. They're 20 years behind us when it comes to submarine technology. So that's one. And the other was from the Atomic Energy Commission. And they have about 3 or 4 of them now coming in from atomic energy commissions from various places. But the one that we have that just came out, we released it a little while ago, was from the Israeli Atomic Energy Commission. But numerous of them are getting to see the site, and the site has been demolished. And again, we had these brave patriots, these incredible flyers, these people that can fly a plane better than anybody can fly a plane, going into very hostile territory, flying into the territory that has got more missiles and things pointed at it. But it was very stealth. They didn't get to see it. It was dark. That's the amazing thing about the shots. They hit the shots perfectly, and yet it was dead dark. There was no moon. There was no light. It was virtually moonless. It was very dark, and the shots were hit perfectly. But when they get demeaned, and they were very upset about it because they knew how strong it would be. Back in Missouri, the pilots flew about 36 hours, two ways, far distance, and in those incredible B-2s. And we then had the F-22s, and we had the F-35s, and we had other planes, and we had, I think, a total of 52 tankers. That means the big tankers, because the refueling was a lot for all of the different planes that we sent. Incredible operation. And I have to say, General Raisin Kane was incredible. That's why he beat ISIS, and we beat ISIS in a matter of weeks. I was told it would take 4 to 5 years. We did it in a few weeks. And he was great. That's why he's the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff right now, because I had a very good experience with him. He knocked out ISIS in a period of literally a few weeks. Amazing. And it was supposed to take a few years, 5 years to be exact. So we had a great victory there, and we then came here, and I think we had a great victory here. But this is an ongoing project. This is the safety of Europe, the safety of the world. And they've raised it from 2% to 5%, something which nobody, and you're talking about over $1 trillion a year. So we're talking about a lot of money from coming in from countries that we're not paying nearly enough to be effective. So I have, as you know, Marco Rubio with me, and Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State and Secretary of War. Should we say Secretary? You know, it used to be called Secretary of War. Maybe for a couple of weeks we'll call it that, because we feel like warriors. Used to be called Secretary of War. In fact, if you look at the old building next to the White House, you can see where it used to be Secretary of War. Then we became politically correct, and they called it Secretary of Defense. I don't know, maybe we'll have to start thinking about changing it, but we feel that way. Do we have any questions, please? Wow. That's a lot of questions. Who's a nice person? Oh, you're not a nice person, but I'll let you ask one. Go ahead. What's he going to ask? He is not nice at all. I know him well.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time before flying home. You just said you believe the conflict between Israel and Iran is over. What makes you so confident it is? And what do you do if it isn't?
Because I dealt with both, and they're both tired, exhausted. They fought very, very hard and very viciously, very violently. And they were both satisfied to go home and get out. And can it start again? I guess someday it can. It could maybe start soon. I think a big telltale sign was when, as you know, Iran somewhat, by not much, violated the ceasefire. And Israel had the planes going out that morning, and there were a lot of them, 52 of them. And I said, you got to get them back. And they brought them back. They didn't do anything. They brought them back. It was very good. I thought it was amazing, actually. They have fought a hell of a war. They fought very hard. I think the war ended, actually, when we hit the various nuclear sites with the planes. And I just hope you people can give these pilots, these are the best pilots in the world. They're the best shots in the world. They call them shots. That's what they are. And wait a minute. And I just hope you can give them the respect they deserve, because they came home to fake news. And like, oh, gee, there was hardly any damage. The things are decimated. So, but I think, no, I think they're very much finished. I think Israel's going to get back to doing what they do. And I think that Iran's going to get back. You know, Iran has a huge advantage. They have great oil, and they can do things. I don't see them getting back involved in the nuclear business anymore. I think they've had it. They've been at it for 20 years, and I don't see that happening either. Now, if it does, we're always there. It won't be me. It'll be somebody else, but we're there. We'll have to do something about it. Yes, please, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, fake news, CNN? Oh, yeah, here we go. Wait till you hear this question.
Thank you,
You should really say how great our soldiers and our warriors are.
I think everyone appreciates our soldiers and our warriors. I do have two questions for you, Mr. President. You just cited Israeli intelligence on these attacks. Earlier, you said U.S. intelligence was inconclusive. Are you relying on Israeli intelligence for your assessment of the impact of the strikes?
No, this is also Iran made the statement. And it's also, if you read the document that was given, that Pete can talk about if you'd like, the document said it could be very severe damage, but they didn't take that. They said it could be limited or it could be very severe. They really didn't know, other than to say it could be limited or it could be very, very severe. And you didn't choose to put that because it was very early after. Since then, we've collected additional intelligence. We've also spoken to people who have seen the site, and the site is obliterated. And we think everything nuclear is down there. They didn't take it out. Okay, question, please, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, blue dress.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Yesterday, you said China can now continue to purchase oil from Iran.
Yeah.
Are you giving up on your maximum pressure campaign? Because
With
there's
who?
sanctions right now
With who?
on Iran.
No, look, they just had a war. The war was fought. They fought it bravely. I'm not giving up. They're in the oil business. I mean, I could stop it if I wanted. I could sell China the oil myself. I don't want to do that. They're going to need money to put that country back into shape. We want to see that happen. Would it? No, if they're going to sell oil, they're going to sell oil. We're not taking over the oil. We could have, you know. I used to say with Iraq, keep the oil. I could say it here too. We could have kept the oil. No, China is going to want to buy oil. They can buy it from us. They can buy it from other people. But you're going to have to put that country back into shape. It desperately needs money. Yeah. Yeah, please. Here we go. I'm picking the beauties today. Go ahead.
Mr. President, Secretary General Rutte has described President Putin as an adversary, a threat, an enemy. Do you view him the same way? And in addition to that, you mentioned General Kane, your chief of staff, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
General Kane.
Yes, he has said that Mr. Putin has territorial ambitions beyond Ukraine. Do you view that in the same way?
Possible. I mean, it's possible. I know one thing, he'd like to settle. He'd like to get out of this thing. It's a mess for him. He called the other day. He said, can I help you with Iran? I said, no, you can help me with Russia. Because, you know, in the last few weeks, we took care of India and Pakistan, Kosovo, Serbia. I think on Friday we have coming in, the Congo is coming in and Rwanda is coming in. That was a vicious war that went on, a machete war, heads chopped off all over Africa. They're coming in. We did 2 others in addition to that. Nobody's ever done anything like this. No, I consider him a person that's, I think, been misguided. I'm very surprised, actually. I thought we would have had that settled easy. I've settled 4 of them in the meantime. But he did call up, and he said, you know, he's close to Iran. He'd like to help us get a settlement. I said, no, you help me get a settlement with you, with Russia. And I think we're going to be doing that too. Yeah, please. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've made clear your position on what impact the strikes had. I wanted to ask you what is next with Iran. For instance, is there any indication from U.S. intelligence that Iran was able to move any material?
No, we just the opposite. We think we hit them so hard and so fast they didn't get to move. And if you knew about that material, it's very hard and very dangerous to move. It's called, in many people, they call it dust, but it's very, very heavy. It's very, very hard to move. And they were way down, you know, they're 30 stories down. They're literally 30, 35 stories down underground. Oh yeah, we think it's covered with granite, concrete, and steel.
Can I ask you, are you interested in restarting negotiations with Iran? And if so, have they received?
So our people, Marco could answer this, but our people are not, I'm not. The way I look at it, they fought, the war's done, and you know, I could get a statement that they're not going to go nuclear. We're probably going to ask for that, but they're not going to be doing it. But they're not going to be doing it anyway. They've had it. They've had it. Now, maybe someday in the future we'll want that. But I've asked Marco, do you want to draw? I just asked him the question as we were walking on the stage. Do you want to draw up a little agreement for them to sign? Because I think we can get them to sign it. I don't think it's necessary. Marco, do you want to talk about that, please?
Well, Mr. President, I think President Trump has shown a willingness to meet and talk to anybody in the world who's interested in peace. I don't know of any president that's been as willing as he has to meet with anyone and talk about peace.
All right, while Rubio's talking, 152, folks, on Nvidia. 152. This one is the leader today. We're getting a red candle across the entire board. Robinhood still holding 84.50. Palantir getting rejected at 146, 147, back down to 144. Tesla, disgusting day. I mean, it almost feels like the entire robotaxi was sell the news, even though it wasn't sell the news for the first 15 hours of the Austin event. So we got to see if this one recovers. Heavy put volume coming in the option flow, but this one's nasty. Nvidia, though, 153 is the all-time high. I will check resistance real quick at that. 140, 152.47, up 3% on the day. 153 is going to need about 450,000 shares, but if you can get there, then you got Nvidia getting some love. S&P relatively flat, 607 on the day. Palantir 144, SoFi 1603, and then Nvidia, S&P 607, Nvidia 152.49.
That document wouldn't be bad. We're going to meet with them, actually. We're going to meet with them. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes. Mr. President, Netherlands TV, thank you for visiting our country.
Good.
As I
Thank you.
understood, I, of course, would like to know how you slept last night at the House of the King.
Oh, I slept beautifully.
But probably a more serious question. I think you just had a meeting with President Zelensky. Did you discuss any ceasefire in this Russo-Ukrainian?
No, I wanted to know how he's doing. He was very nice, actually. You know, we had little rough times sometimes. He was, couldn't have been nicer. I think he'd like to see an end to this. I do. I think what I took from the meeting couldn't have been nicer, actually. But I took from the meeting that he'd like to see it end. I think it's a great time to end it. I'm going to speak to Vladimir Putin, see if we can get it ended. But look, these are brave people. They're fighting these wars all over the place. You know, last week they had, I guess, I told you, close to 7,000 young soldiers, Russian and Ukrainian soldiers were killed, 7,000 in 1 week. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I'll be speaking to Putin. No, I had a good meeting with Zelensky. And I had a lot of good meetings. We had a lot of good meetings with a lot of people, a lot of great leaders. But he's fighting a brave battle. It's a tough battle. Yeah. Go ahead, white dress.
Thank you. Ida Hallikainen from Finland, Ilta-Sanomat.
Good.
You have played golf with President Alexander Stubb. How do you see Finland as a NATO ally and partner, and how would you describe your relationship with our president?
Well, he's a very good golfer. Okay. In fact, he was on his college golf team. He went to a good college in the South, as you know, a very good college, and he was a good golfer. We had a good time. I think my relationship's great. I want to buy icebreakers. You know, you're very good at icebreakers. And I actually made him an offer. I didn't go to Congress. They'll try and impeach me for this. But there's an old, it's not old, it's fairly new, but it's used icebreaker. And I offered him about 1/3 of what he asked for. But we're negotiating. We need icebreakers in the U.S. And if we can get some inexpensively, I'd like to do that. Actually, they'll fix it up, make it good. Also, we may buy some icebreakers. You know, you're the king of icebreakers, that particular country. They make them good. They make them really good, and they know what they're doing. And so we're negotiating with them for about 15 different icebreakers, but one of them is available now. It's old, and it's, old. It's like 5-6 years old.
All right. I think that's pretty much what we're getting from Trump. There might be a couple more questions, but most of the questions that we wanted to know about, details on Iran, Israel, details on Zelensky, and if there's any progress with that, what he talked about with Russia, we got pretty much all the answers to that over the past 40 minutes. The funniest thing that this guy said, bro, is that Iran was really nice. They gave us a warning. They said, sir, we're going to shoot the missiles. Is 1 p.m. okay? I said, that's fine. And then we emptied everyone off the base. Very nice people. And that was just hilarious, bro. That was like, it just goes to show you how orchestrated this entire thing was. And the markets love it because they're like, all right, Iran got their missiles off. The United States, no one got hurt. We're able to move on, de-escalate. And from a geopolitical perspective, not the worst thing in the world. Nvidia right here, 151.87, got hit at 152.50. Let's see if we can get back there. Palantir 144. Robinhood still holding 3% on the day, 84.58 even if it's below the all-time highs. AMD 141, holding the 140s. S&P, again, it's flat on the day, but still nice, 607. Grab, ugly day. I mean, not ugly, but down 1.48%. That's annoying that we're not holding 470, but let's see if we can recover that. Google right here at 170, Amazon 214, Meta 712, and then Tesla just, I don't know, guys. Feels like whatever pumped it up on Monday after robotaxis doesn't matter. It's almost like the market's thinking about earnings now instead of robotaxis. So Tesla is nasty right here, down 5.3. And I don't see a headline. I mean, European sales down, but I don't think that's the headline. It kind of just feels like everyone took profits after the robotaxi event. That's what it really feels like. SoFi, however, is bringing back crypto. So Tanner just posted this. Crypto's coming back to SoFi and global money transfers are rolling out. So SoFi just posted this. Crypto's coming back to SoFi. SoFi members will soon be able to buy, sell, and hold a selection of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. Over time, SoFi intends to offer stable coins and a wide range of services, such as providing members the ability to borrow against their assets. And then you can send money to over 30 countries seamlessly. Later this year, we'll offer SoFi checking and savings members international money transfers in the SoFi app at faster speeds and lower costs than traditional services, putting more money in people's pockets. Bullish SoFi. I mean, if Bitcoin comes back, you get some rate cuts and you have remittances. I don't know why this thing has to be below 20 by the end of the year. And I feel like 20 is kind of undercutting it to an extent, especially if we get the rate cuts. But SoFi right here, 1605. Holding 16 would be very important. Again, they're not getting any of the crypto revenues yet, but once the street starts seeing that A, could help their operating margins, B, it's just another stream of revenue that even if it's not, a couple $100 million, even if it's like 10 or 20 million, that's not bad, especially for a company that doesn't really make a lot of profit yet. So SoFi right here, 1605, up 1% on the day. Nvidia is not at all-time highs today. Nvidia back to 152 though, showing a lot of resilience right here. Micron earnings are going to be a big one today after the bell. Micron down about 2%. Broadcom 267. Broadcom is now a $1.26 trillion company, and Tesla's about to go below 320. Oh boy. Tesla is about to go. It looks like it's about to go right below 320. Coinbase, it was up 4%. Coinbase. Wow, dude. A lot of shout out to Hood and Nvidia. They are holding on to their gains at least to the tune of 2 to 3%. Robinhood's up 2.3 and Nvidia's up 2.7. Everything else is just letting go of all of their gains. Reddit Reddit's still up 4%, but Reddit was at almost 155. Now it's at 146. Meta was at 715, down to 712. I mean, it's probably algos, all of these going right at the same time. ASTS also holding on at least to 51. CoreWeave is down 2%, but you're seeing a lot of names. Tesla, obviously, just getting rid of, or at least the rally kind of sizzling out. Same thing with HIMS. It's still up 3.8%. It was up 7%, but that one also getting hit. Yeah, Coinbase right here, basically flat now on the day. A DoorDash executive died today. Oh, that's not DoorDash executive in a boat tragedy. Yeah, DoorDash executive, Lake Tahoe. Joshua Anthony Pickles, 37, from San Francisco, died in the accident when his boat capsized near the DL Bliss State Park on Saturday afternoon as waves reached 8 feet in height. Wow. All right, that is not the best for DoorDash. That is sad to see. In terms of what he did at DoorDash, he was I don't see his exact title, but he was an executive at the company. Sad to see that. Very, very sad to see that. But yeah, that did happen. That news just coming out over the past couple hours. Got Reddit right here, 147. That's up 4%. Yeah, the market's probably not liking some of this housing data. That's for sure. Lennar, that's down 2%. And then Zillow, that's also down 2%. Dude, 14% decline month over month. That is disgusting for the housing market. That's just like not good. Yeah, he was 37. He was 37. It just goes to show life is, I mean, here one day, gone the next. Every moment you got to celebrate. This is why, I know people think it's kind of tacky sometimes when I ring the bell or we celebrate a new milestone on a stock, but it's not even about the making of the money. It's not even about, okay, Hood's at 82 instead of 81. We're making more money. It's like, yeah, it's nice to see the gains, but it's the memories. It's the moments, And if all of us get to go on a journey together, it's just, those are priceless things that I think actually give life value, right? Like seeing a Palantir or Robinhood go up makes your life more financially valuable, but having to share that journey with someone actually makes it more meaningful. So this is why I kind of like to try to have fun on the streams. It's like, you just never know, bro. You could be here today and gone tomorrow and off anything. Imagine people were on the plane going to London in India. Like, you just never know. Absolutely never know. It's hard to take you just can't take any moment for granted here. SMCI up 7%. That one getting a lot of love today. 7.5% after their dilution. It seems like the street is thinking of the dilution as a way to feel bullish on the overall sector when it comes to semis. Dude, Trump is still talking. He's still taking questions.
Good.
Mr. President, to follow up on Ukraine, will the United States contribute any more money to Ukraine's defense this year to the $5 billion that allies are giving? And one question, you had another meeting with the Dutch opposition leader, Mr. Wilders. Can you tell us about that meeting? And are you upset about his anti-Muslim stance?
I'm not upset about it. It's just his view. He's unhappy with the way things are going in this country and various countries. He was All
right, so Trump is still talking. Again, most of the main questions we want answers to, we kind of got those. But he's still there. So he's going to be flying back later today from the Netherlands. The one good thing about the Netherlands, or about the NATO conference right here, is that they already committed to 3% of GDP, but they're committing another 1% collectively of GDP, of defense spending as a percentage of GDP. So as Trump said, that could be another $1 trillion coming into defense spending. I mean, that could be one of the reasons why Palantir got a bid today, quite frankly. Just like the NATO headline on, we already know they got a NATO contract, so it's not like they can't integrate into NATO. They've proven that with the Maven contract a month ago. If NATO's going to be spending more money, they're going to need software. That could be the bid for Palantir. AMD, is that moving? AMD is moving. Let me check 143 resistance. Dude, this has got to feel so good for the AMD bulls. This has got to feel so good for you guys. 143, 30,000 shares, which is not a lot. Year to date, up 17%, 3 months up 25%, past week up 10%. And if you bought anywhere near the tariff drama, you probably got this at sub 90. Most people probably got around 95. 142 minus 95. You guys are up about 50% since then. It feels great. It feels so good. Yeah, dude, there's a lot of you guys in AMD. I'm not in this one, but I'm very happy for retail making money and this is also a good company. AMD is not bullshit. They're not random speculative nonsense. Like, this is a legit company. Lisa Su is a rock star. They just needed some time. You just had to be patient with this. And if you believed in the thesis and DCA'd, you are massively outperforming the broader market. Where is Tessie? 322. So Tesla's still not below 320. So it's holding 320, which seems like a little bit of support right now. But not getting below that level. Always making dough. Yeah, there you go. Always making dough. Similar move coming with UNH. Yeah, I think it's possible. I think for UNH, again, like even Jason, he didn't even want to do TA on it yesterday. And I agree. There's no technical analysis to do on this now. Like, there was no TA to do on Meta in 2022. If you believe this is an opportunity that is deeply undervalued, this is just, you buy it and you hold it and you have a long-term view. Like, you believe that down 40% off of a investigation that might not really impact the bottom line is not going to matter. So, but it's going to require patience. It's going to take time for that narrative to shift and for the new CEO to do what he needs to do. SMCI right here up 8% on the day. Trump talking about Powell. Okay, let's switch to him. Let's see.
And I was asked to meet this guy, but he's in our country. And that was set up by the current people. He was sometime in our country. Let's not do it. But he was. I thought he was very good as far as money going.
BBC News Ukrainian.
Where are you from?
I'm from Ukraine.
Oh,
So my
wow.
question to you is whether or not the US is ready to sell anti-air missile systems, Patriot.
Never been anything like 4 people who Bloomberg. That's wonderful.
You were criticizing the Federal Reserve Chair before coming to this summit.
Yeah, I think he's terrible.
I was wondering if you've begun interviewing different candidates for the Fed pick.
Yeah, I know within 3 or 4 people who are going to pick. I mean, he goes out pretty soon, fortunately, because I think he's terrible. We have no inflation. We have a tremendous economy. Hundreds of billions of dollars of tariff money is pouring in. Factories are being built because they don't want to pay the tariffs, so they're building them all over the country. I think we're close to $15 trillion. I told you 5.1 trillion from the Middle East alone, but of investment money coming in. There's never been anything like that in the history of our country. But we have no inflation. And we have borrowing because Biden, stupidly, they did short-term debt. So we have borrowing coming up. And, you know, we'll go 10 years, maybe longer, maybe shorter, but we'll go a long period of time when we do the debt. And because of him, because of this guy, we will have to pay for years. We'll be paying for him. And I said to him, listen, there's no inflation. He says, but maybe there'll be some. That's true. I said, if there is some, what you do is raise the rate. I'm okay with that. You raise the rate in 2 years from now or in a year from now. But because the rate's high, we have to pay more for debt. It's pretty equal. In other words, if it's 4%, it's 4%. If you drop it a point, you'll pay 3%. So it's fairly equal, not necessarily, but fairly equal. So we're going to end up paying maybe 2 points or 3 points more. 3 points would be about $900 billion a year because of this very average mentally person. He's an average mentally person. I'd say low in terms of what he does, low IQ for what he does, okay? Wait, so instead of paying $900 billion, we don't want to pay 900 just because he doesn't want to lower the rate. I said, if there's inflation in 2 years or 3 years or 1 year from now, you raise the rate, you take care of the inflation, among other things. But he's probably a very political guy, I guess. I don't know. I think he's a very stupid person, actually. All right, one more. Let's go. How about you? Go ahead. She looks so happy and everything.
Thank you.
That's why I
I'm
picked
from
her.
Spain too. I'm Ana Buch from La Vanguardia. I wanted to know if
You're where from?
Spain too.
Ah.
I wanted to know if you want to.
That's the Spain corner right there. Shouldn't have said that. That's okay. I do like Spain, by the way. I think it's unfair that they're not paying, but go ahead.
Are you going to negotiate directly with Spain about?
I'm going to negotiate directly with Spain. I'm going to do it myself. They're going to pay. They'll pay more money this way. You should tell them to go back and pay. You're a reporter. You tell them to go back. They ought to join all of those countries that are paying 5%. Spain's going to be just about the only one that's not. They were the most hostile toward doing it. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay. All right, Kelly, go ahead. Here we go. There's another one.
Hello, sir. Thank you
We
very much.
got them all today.
Okay. So, Mr. President, you talked about expecting some on-the-ground assessments at Fordo and other
Yeah.
sites.
Now here,
Is that
here again.
Israeli and U.S.?
It's been obliterated, Kelly. It's been
What is your message
obliterated.
then, sir, to the intelligence community when they present reports? You're not disputing the DIA report. You're just
They presented a
exists.
report that wasn't finished. We're talking about something that took place 3 days ago.
I understand that's
The report was done
So
2
what
days
is
ago.
your-
Wait a minute.
Yes.
They didn't see it. All they can do is take a guess. Now, if you take a look at the pictures, if you take a look how it's all blackened, you know the fire and brimstone is all underground because it's granite and it's all underground. You don't show it. But even there, with all of that being said, the whole area for 75 yards around the hole where it hit is black with fire. The group that's run by this gentleman, in fact, you may want to talk about it for a second because we're going to issue a report. And I think it's not even a very exciting report at this point. It's been obliterated, totally obliterated. And they did a report, but it was like, if you look at the dates, it's just a few days after it
Understood,
happened.
sir.
So they didn't see it. They said it may be very severe. Go ahead.
Understood. Do you have a message for the intelligence community, though, in terms of unvarnished information getting to you, that it's not?
I don't really have a message. I would say issue the report when you know what happened. I wouldn't say that it could be severe or maybe not. They use the word severe. It could be severe or maybe it's not.
And
So people like you picked up and said, oh, it's not severe. No, the report was not a complete report. Yeah, the message was probably wait till you know the answer before you.
And
Go
sir,
ahead.
did you not have a public component to your Zelensky meeting for a tactical reason with President Putin?
Let him answer this.
Hello, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah. There's a reason the president calls out fake news for what it is. These pilots, these refuelers, these fighters, these air defenders, the skill and the courage it took to go into enemy territory flying 36 hours on behalf of the American people and the world to take out a nuclear program is beyond what anyone in this audience can fathom. And then the instinct of CNN, the instinct of the New York Times is to try to find a way to spin it for their own political reasons to try to hurt President Trump or our country. They don't care what the troops think. They don't care what the world thinks. They want to spin it to try to make him look bad based on a leak. Of course, we've all seen plenty of leakers. And what do leakers do? They have agendas. And what do? Do they share the whole information or just the part that they want to introduce? And when they introduce that preliminary, a preliminary report that's deemed to be a low assessment, you know what a low assessment means? Low confidence in the data in that report. And why is there low confidence? Because all of the evidence of what was just bombed by 12 30,000-pound bombs is buried under a mountain, devastated and obliterated. So if you want to make an assessment of what happened at Fordo, you better get a big shovel and go really deep because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated. And somebody somewhere is trying to leak something to say, oh, with low confidence, we think maybe it's moderate. Those that drop the bombs precisely in the right place know exactly what happened when that exploded. And you know who else knows? Iran. That's why they came to the table right away, because their nuclear capabilities have been set back beyond what they thought were possible because of the courage of a commander-in-chief who led our troops, despite what the fake news wants to say.
But you're not disputing the report said what it said, even though it was initial.
The report said what it said, and it was fine. It was severe, they think, but they had no idea. They shouldn't have issued a report until they did. But we've gotten the information. I think Pete said it better than you can say it. And you know, you should be proud, especially you, should be proud of those pilots, and you shouldn't be trying to demean them.
No,
Those pilots flew at great risk, a big chance that they'd never come back home and see their husbands or their wives. Let me just tell you, you and NBC, fake news, which is one of the worst, and CNN, New York Times, are all bad. They're sick. There's something wrong with them. But you know what? You should be praising those people instead of trying to find some. By getting me, by trying to go and get me, you're hurting those people. They were devastated. You know, I got a call from Missouri, great state, that I won 3 times.
All right, so that's Trump's take. Nvidia trying to get to 153. Trump and Pete Hegseth very determined to get us all to believe that it is true that the nuclear facilities have been completely destroyed. And I think people are going to be looking for more evidence, but nonetheless, the administration's take is that they're done and that their nuclear capabilities are going to be taking many, many years to get back to where they wanted. AMD touched 144, 144.18. Nvidia 10 cents away from breaking 153. At this point, 8 cents away. Resistance again, 500,000 shares. If it's going to do it, it's going to do it now. If not, it's going to get rejected. Let's see if this is possible. 504,000 shares. 153.13 is actually the all-time high. So we got to pump a little bit above 153 to get there. But we got to see. We got to see if we can get there. That shovel line by Pete Hegseth, though, not a bad line. I mean, that shovel line, even Trump was impressed. You saw his eyebrows go up once he said that shovel line. So they definitely are opposing how some parts of the media are interpreting what's going on here in Iran. 152.95. It is just, this is going to be a tough one to get through, because once we get through this, we're going to all-time highs. I mean, we break 153, it's over. It is absolutely over. We break 153, we're moving up. Yeah, word of the day, obliterated. We got to see. You got to see. 4 cents away. 4 cents away. 2 cents away. 3 cents. 1 cent. We break this, we are going to all-time highs. The demand will be there. I mean, theoretically, yeah, 155 after 153, maybe not today, but that is in the cards. And then maybe we're done with the 140s. 152.97. Tesla's still getting hit. Bad 5%. All right, folks, it's got to happen now. If it's going to happen, it's happening now. It's got to happen now. Let me know if you guys see it on your exchanges. I don't see 153 on Robinhood or Webull. This is a big one. This is the most valuable company in the stock market. Okay, some of you guys, oh, there it is, 153. It's there. Is that wall still there? It did hit. I still have a wall of 500,000 shares, but I think those shares are going to get eaten up really soon. It did touch it, but it only touched. We got to see if it actually holds. I mean, it was barely there for a millisecond. We got to see if it actually can hold above it. But usually when it touches it, it tends to break through very soon after. AMD 144, AMD 143.82 right now. HIMS 43, Tesla 323. Palantir losing that 147 today, and then Robinhood 83.70 right now. 153.12 is the previous all-time high. Yeah, do that. I mean, like, look, it touched it, but it's not really there. Like, that's not really a big move. It's got to actually get above 153 here. There's still a ton of resistance I'm looking at, even if it touched it. It's getting rejected pretty hard right there at that level. All right, well, got to 153. Needs about 12 cents above it to actually give us all-time highs. Got to see if the volume is there. I use Robinhood to see the sell wall, for those that are asking. You can use Webull. There's plenty of platforms that show the order book flow. 152.80 currently right now. BB is dumping. This was up 20% in the morning. This one is only up 14% now. So this one, a little bit of hype, probably dying out, or potentially people just coming in to trade it in and up, in and out. Googs 177 or 171, Reddit 145, Amazon 214, Meta 713. Nvidia not really cooperating, bro. Not really cooperating. Did I say currently right now? Hold on. I wanna actually see if I need to hear myself say currently right now. This is getting ridiculous. Did I really say currently right now, bro? Goodness gracious, bro. Oh, Powell's testifying. Did I actually say it? Did I really say it? Did I say it? I need to. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna go back 30 seconds. I want to see if I actually said this shit, bro. Okay. Right now, I'm not really cooperating. Coming in to trade it in and up, in and out. Googs 177 or 171, Reddit 145, Amazon 214, Meta 713. Nvidia not really cooperating, bro. Not really cooperating. Coming 80 currently right now. Oh, there it is. 152.80 currently right now. Dude, I'm saying it with so much confidence. I'm saying it like it's no big deal. Currently right now. Dude, what is this, bro? 152.80 currently right now. It sounds like one word. It sounds like 3 words put together currently right now. I actually like that. By the way, Nvidia, just get it. Dude, touched 153 for like a millisecond and could not break above it, unfortunately. It wasn't a real big move over 153. I still have a 500,000 share resistance wall. So, I mean, my resistance has not been, I mean, that's what I think it really needs to get over to really break through all-time highs. Now it's 507,000 shares, so that one's still there. But currently, right now, as it stands, this is what's going down. Currently, right now, dude. You know, yesterday. So yesterday, I told you guys I went to my mom's friend's house. They have like 3 kids, and they're about to go to India. So we were just meeting them before this. One of my mom's good friends, the husband of my mom's friend. He tells me that he has a friend in Canada who he talks about the stock market with. And they were talking one day, this like a month ago, and he was like, oh, like, who do you watch for stock market news? He was like, oh, I watch this guy named Amit. And then the husband's like, that's my wife's best friend's son. And they're like, what? You know that guy? He's like, yeah, he was at my house last year. And so it was hilarious talking about it. It was just so crazy hearing that. It was like his friend, and he lives closer to Toronto. Keeps up with the channel. If he's watching this right now, let us know in the chat. That was hilarious just hearing that yesterday. That was super cool. Currently, right now, we are bringing the content international. That's what we're doing. Okay, now everyone's going to say, wait, that was me in the chat. Okay, I shouldn't have said that, but like, the point is, that was super funny. I also told you guys, dude, someone who lives like 2 minutes away from me, like in my neighborhood the other day, got in touch with my mom because he couldn't believe that, like, because my mom is friends with his wife and he watches me on YouTube, and he was like, wait, that kid lives next to us? And she was like, yeah, he's like right down the street. And so he was at my dad's birthday party 2 weeks ago. So that was kind of cool seeing all these different people here. Does he live right there nearby? Oh my gosh, right there nearby. Nvidia, she's not giving us 153. She's not giving us 153. He was not at the meetup. But he is in Toronto. Amit, right now, as I speak in the moment, we currently see the president at this time. Dude, that really is Kamala Harris vibes. Speaking of the Democrats, folks, New York City has elected a Democratic socialist who is not even a Democratic socialist. He self-describes himself as a full-on socialist, as the winner for the Democratic primary to go up in the official election in New York City. There you go. Zohran Mamdani. He is there. He just wiped the floor with Cuomo, bro. Like, Cuomo had like no shot by 50% of the votes being in. And this is a tweet from a couple years ago. This is some of the stuff that's been going around. He says, we don't need an investigation to know that the NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. What we need to do is defund the NYPD. There's about 30 other tweets of him with that hashtag. Granted, it's from 2020. Sometimes you could say people change. But in 2020, one of the biggest things he talked about at the time, he was working in the city government. He wasn't running for mayor. He was campaigning with AOC for Congress at the time, was defund the NYPD. Like, if you go on his Twitter and you kind of hashtag defund the NYPD, that's like one of the main talking points that he had. The other big talking point is city-run grocery stores. That's something that he wants to do as well. Now the call sheet odds for Eric Adams winning in New York City, who's the current mayor, have gone up because people hate Eric Adams. Like, people are not a fan of him. But now New York City has to ask themselves, do they want to elect a socialist? And I'm not saying he's a socialist for my political prerogative. I am quite literally quoting what he has told Politico, which is explicitly, we are socialists. Not democratic socialists, socialists. I fact-checked that last night because I wanted to know, like, the media always takes the Democratic. Like, no, he explicitly says we need to embrace socialism and we are socialists. Now, obviously, he's not going to dismantle capitalism or anything like that. But the point is, this is someone who New York City wants to represent them, at least from a Democratic perspective. So I think this is going to be interesting to me because I want to know if it tells the political appetite of the broader American ecosystem. And by the way, we got to share this clip by Mr. David Friedberg, who is just one of the gems of the Olin podcast. He shared this back in December in his prediction episodes, that there would be a rise of socialist movements across the United States.
You're a self-proclaimed democratic socialist running for mayor of the financial capital of the world.
New Yorkers are hungry for a different kind of politics, a politics that puts working people first.
There was a new poll showing Zohran Mamdani actually leading Andrew Cuomo in New York City's race for mayor.
This one poll hints at the possibility of a major political upset.
My contrarian belief is that we'll see a dramatic rise in socialist movements in 2025 in the United States.
Okay.
And I think that some industries and some companies are going to be huge winners and some companies are going to be huge losers. There's going to be some parts of the economy that are going to be big winners and some parts of the economy that are going to be big losers. When you have this sort of a change this fast, there are often large contingents of people that are left behind. And when that happens, I do think that the socialist policies and the socialist movements gain steam.
We don't agree with the term illegal. We're undocumented. We've been here for thousands of years. We're
capitalists. We think socialism does work, real socialism, not Venezuela, not Cuba, not any of that crap that they try to sell us as socialism.
Well, there you go. That's what we got for New York. So I don't know, dude. I'm curious. I don't live in New York. I live close by, but I don't live in New York. Nvidia right here trying to get back to 153, 152.70. This is up to New York City. This is up to the 9 million people in that city to decide who they want to represent them. And quite frankly, this is the nature of democracy. If they want to elect a socialist, then they're going to have the opportunity to do it. And if the will of the people says that this is the route they want to go, then that is a possibility for the route they could go. Personally, this is my personal opinion. This is where I get less objective here. This is my personal opinion. I do think some of the policies that he's advocating for, with the intentions that they have, I don't know if they're necessarily going to work. Grocery stores, for example, 1 or 2% profit margins, the idea that you would make them city run. I don't know exactly if the incentive structure would be there. I don't know if you would be able to negotiate deals with vendors and food suppliers to be able to even kind of make a profit. And if you don't make a profit and you break even, the question becomes, if you're going to be losing money on this, where are you going to get the money from to fund it? These are questions that you have to ask, right? And so, not saying Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo are that much better. I really have no opinion on all three of them. I'm just trying to analyze the objective idea of a socialist running New York City, which is like the mecca of capitalism. Like, are you kidding me? Wall Street? I mean, it's New York. So one thing that it does goes to show, and this I think is very objective, the wealth inequality in that city. And I was there on Friday. You saw someone who's, about to go into a Madison Square Garden concert, and they have all these fancy gadgets. They have their iPhone, they have their Louis Vuitton bag, and then you have someone who's sitting right next to them who's homeless, sitting outside the stadium asking for food. I mean, so the wealth inequality in this city in particular obviously can lead to the political motivations to get people to rally behind someone who is offering essentially for rent controls and price freezes and all these things that are handouts that people believe they deserve to get because the wealthy have simply benefited too much from the city. The question is going to be if the United States, or not the United States yet, but if New York decides to alleviate some of that wealth inequality through a socialist policy. But we will find out over the coming months as they have their general election. Tesla right here, 324, getting a little recovery above 320. Palantir 144, Hoodie 83.92, Googs 171. Nvidia, she's trying, bro. She's really trying for 153. I feel like the appetite is there to get there. It's just now is the question of, can the volume actually break above 153? Mondre, thank you for the $5 super chat. I have an AMD 136 call option expiring in August. I am up 5,000. Should I sell it or hold? It seems like the momentum is there. Okay, so first of all, it's expiring in August, most likely August 15th. You're up $5,000, which based on your own personal risk reward, you have to decide, is that a good reward for the risk that you took to get that $5,000? The one thing I will say, I don't know if you should buy or sell. That's up to you, right? That's ultimately up to you. The risk of not selling is that AMD tanks and that 5,000 goes away. The risk of the benefit of selling right now is that you get to profit $5,000. However, what I can say objectively is theta decay is going to start to catch up. You are above your strike. You're in the money. I don't know how much premium you paid for the contract. But if you paid anywhere less than $6, you are above the strike plus your premium. So your call is fully in the money. The question now becomes, when theta starts kicking up, and if it expires in August, you got 1 month left, which means theta is kicking up every day, which means AMD really does have to keep moving for that theta to not take away value from the contract. Hood right here, 84. So that's the question. Do you think AMD can keep running or not? And if you don't, or if you just want to be safer, then $5,000 is $5,000. Whenever there's a short-term option, unless you're trying to turn that 5,000 to like 30,000, if AMD pumps like 150 or something, I tend to be a bit more conservative and take profits. So you're going to have to kind of figure out where you think the trajectory of that is going. Also, you're going to be holding it through earnings, and holding it through earnings always is a little bit tricky as well. JPow's talking. Let's see if we can get a little bit from JPow right here and see what he's saying currently right now.
To target Federal Reserve officials. In late January, a former senior advisor to the Fed Reserve was arrested on charges that he conspired to steal Federal Reserve trade secrets to benefit and advance communism. Of change of these incidents.
Serious protections for confidential information. We have background checks. We have annual training. We have many of those things. I don't know that we've made any fundamental changes, but we're certainly, sorry, very sorry to see something like this having taken place. And we're certainly looking at at the protections we have in place.
Great. Well,
I just increasing tariffs is like increasing taxes.
Surveys show very widely that people feel uncertain about the economy, and they do point to tariffs in that answer. I will say, though, that actually peaked back in April and has come down a little bit. And if you talk to businesses, I talked to an unusually large number of business people in the last couple of months, and the feeling is a little better now than it was. They're getting on with it and feeling, I'd say surveys are still showing depressed sentiment, but it's moved up from where it was.
I would say, Mr. Chairman, that may be the case at this moment, but we all know that we could wake up any morning and see another tweet, and that could change dramatically. So I appreciate your efforts to.
All right, we're not getting anything from Jay Powell. We're probably not going to get anything from Jay Powell. I have $30 leaps on Hood expiring Jan 2027. If you were me, would you exercise here or wait for a few months? So because you have so much time and you're so in the money, I wouldn't feel any need to exercise here. But if you want to exercise to then sell covered calls against your shares because you think maybe you want to get some premium that way, then that is one option. But I think Hood will be above 30 by January 2027. So I don't really see the need to exercise those anytime soon. I mean, even if we get a 40% dip, you're still in the money. So yeah, given they're deep in the money, I don't see the need right now to exercise. But if you just want the shares itself and you don't want to deal with the volatility of the leap option, then you could exercise and just continue to hold it that way. SoFi 1607 up 1.3. Up 1.3. Still holding on right now. Also, yeah, you could just sell the calls and make some money, make the profit on that as well. But obviously, if you want to keep the shares, then you can keep it. I mean, what do you have to say about the handouts to corporations and the wealthy in the USA? Do they deserve it more than the people that do the actual work to build and keep America moving? It is a fair question. I think it's a legitimate question. My viewpoints on this about a decade ago were on the side of the people and the workers, and everything should be given back to the workers, and the workers are the ones that kind of build the infrastructure for everything we have. And my viewpoints have changed, and not from a anti-empathetic view to employees or workers in this country, but rather a broader appreciation of the fact that there is no work unless you have someone who takes the risks to build something to give people the ability to work. Now, that doesn't mean that the workers are disrespected or they shouldn't participate in value creation, yada, yada. All those things are fair. But I think in America, we uniquely forget how good we have it because of Bezos and Zuckerberg and Elon and all those people that are out there actually taking the risks. Yes, are they massively wealthy? 100%. Do they deserve that wealth? In my opinion, yeah. Because guess what? Vlad being worth $5-10 billion allows me to be worth a decent chunk of money as well, because I got to participate in his value creation. Karp getting to be worth $12 billion allows me to change my life because I got to cover his company as he was building it, and I didn't even build the company. So I just think it's a different philosophical view. And that doesn't mean every regulation we have in the United States around corporations is healthy, right? There's obviously corporate loopholes, and there's all these things that we need to address and make better. But the fundamental point of reality here is that we are successful. This country works. You get your food from McDonald's in a couple minutes when you order a burger, and you get your Amazon packages in at this point less than a day, because we have logistics, infrastructure, supply chains, and the unit economics to build a life that most people around the world would die for. And that is because of capitalism. You can call me a corporate pig all you want, but like that is because of capitalism. And all of us investing in companies are benefiting from that capitalism. Fundamental point of reality. Dude, we need to make a document about these phrases I have. We need to immortalize these phrases. These are phrases right off the dome. Fundamental point of reality. There you go. But look, the point is, dude, I don't agree with this shit. I don't agree with this idea that, oh, capitalism's evil. Like, no, dude, I don't agree. Capitalism's not evil. Capitalism is one of the best things ever. It's not perfect, but it's damn sure. Like that guy on the video who's like, oh, we need real socialism, not the one in Venezuela and Cuba. If you ever studied socialism, and I will never forget my music teacher in 5th grade, she came from Cuba. Her grandfather is from Cuba. Her grandfather is not in America. She's in America. And I remember this story like it was yesterday. She told us that she went to Cuba to visit her grandparents and she had to come back to America. And at the airport, I cannot make this up. I remember it like it was yesterday. She asked her grandpa, why can't you come with us? Why can't you come with us back to America? Why can't you stay with us? We stayed with you for 2 weeks. Why can't you stay with us? Her grandpa said, if I leave, they will shoot me. If I leave, they will shoot me, because you weren't allowed to leave Cuba at the time. And so she was the first introduction, that music teacher in 5th grade I had to and I didn't even know what communism was. I didn't know, I didn't know what Castro. I was just like, I was in 5th grade. I had no understanding of the political elements of any of these theories, but it stuck with me. And even with that knowledge, I became a card-carrying communist when I was in high school. And I agreed with Bernie Sanders and Eat the Rich, and like Bill Gates should have all of his money distributed across the world. And then when I got to college, I kind of just started realizing, dude, like, this is not how the world works. Like, this is just not how the world works. Bill Gates cannot be forced to give up his wealth. That's immoral. He made that wealth. He made a lot of people rich in the meantime. He made products and services with Microsoft that changed the world, that gave thousands and thousands, millions of jobs to people. People's livelihoods are because Bill Gates took the risks in the 1980s to build. How many? Microsoft employs like 300,000 people today, even though they're firing a lot of people because of AI. But the point is, the idea that we seize people's wealth and just give it to other people is not the right strategy, in my opinion. And then on top of that, right? So then it goes from, okay, we're not going to seize the wealth, but we're going to redistribute it through like city-run grocery stores. Those are the things that the Venezuelans and the Cubans have tried and have horribly failed. And Friedberg yesterday, I mean, he had a pretty good tweet about this issue. He says, it is vitally important for America that Mamdani get elected mayor of NYC. He can maximally and swiftly tax the rich, stand up government-run grocery stores, eliminate the police force, freeze rents, and make public transportation rich. And the reason for that is because if Americans don't want to learn the lessons of socialism's failures elsewhere, we should aim to learn them here as quickly as possible. So even Friedberg's like, you know what? If we don't get how good we have it, AMD 142, Nvidia 152, then we probably need one of the richest cities in the world to realize that these policies don't work for us to get it. So, I mean, those are my thoughts. And, you know, again, I'm not trying to say capitalism's like the only thing that works. Well, no, I am trying to say capitalism is the only thing that works. I'm not trying to say we should have laissez-faire capitalism. We should have zero regulations. We should have zero rules, yada, yada, because then you get the 2008 crisis. I'm just saying the idea of going to nationwide run grocery stores, like that's just, that type of reality, I don't think is necessarily going to work long term. And some of the, you know, when people point to Scandinavia and Sweden and Norway, they can do it because they don't have the population that the United States have. And they definitely don't have the dynamism in terms of risk taking that the United States has. And when you're a population of 30 million people, it's not that hard to guarantee free healthcare. When you're at 350 million and you have corporate profits that are the bulk of the reason why this country has the tax revenues, the military, et cetera, that it has, it's a bit harder. Now, could we do things to make healthcare more equal? Sure. And, you know, Obama tried doing some of this stuff with the Affordable Care Act. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. But the point is, you don't just go full on destroy the entire capitalist ecosystem because of inequality. Especially when inequality, quite frankly, has a lot to do with other things than just Bill Gates has money, I don't have money. Friedberg's problem is that it's going to work. There is infinite money to spend from other people. He won't get to the bottom of all that money for a while. Yeah, well, New York has a lot of money to tax. So, you know, the effects of these policies might not be felt for a long time. But again, you know, this is what New York City has to decide. If they decide that there's too much money concentrated in the hedge fund managers, then Mamdani's going to tax the shit out of them. And then the question becomes, hey, do those hedge fund managers, do they leave? Do they go to Florida? Like, you know, do they go, like, I mean, that's the beauty of America, right? You can just leave if you disagree with the nature of how a country is being run or a city is being run. And we've seen this happen in California to an extent already. The question is, does that play out in New York? Well, where do the NYC taxes go? The people of NYC get no return on their tax dollars. Yeah, I mean, Look, people have been complaining for a long time that the subway system, like there's so many things that are messed up in New York. I don't understand how New York City and San Francisco, with the amount of money they have, still have this homeless problem. Like you would imagine there was so much wealth in those two cities. I mean, unfathomable amounts of wealth. And by the way, those two cities are paying damn near 50% taxes. So it's not like the rich are just getting away with it. Like they are paying some good money in taxes. The question is the allocation of those taxes, because it's definitely not leading to an ROI. Or at least it seems like it hasn't for a lot of their citizens. The problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money. Yeah. I think everyone, especially if you're in the stock market, bro, everyone, if you're keeping up with the day-to-day of the stock market, eventually you have to learn about the history of how companies are formed, how capital is produced. I think it's important to read Marx and Hegel and then learn about their theories. And that's what I spent a lot of time in high school doing. Because again, I was on the debate team. I learned a lot of philosophy. I really went deep into the critique of capitalism. And I believed in it. Just like anyone who's 17 years old would believe if they're broke, they have no money, their parents are relatively broke immigrants, and they see, you know, Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos buy a new yacht. Like any 17-year-old would be like, that's unfair. But as you get older, you're like, well, what if I could be that person too? What if I could get the yacht? I don't want to buy a yacht, but the point is like, what if I could achieve what? And I think that's the philosophical level of human nature that's really important. Like the idea that you could be the next Mark Zuckerberg and create all that value, to me, is inspiring. And even if I'm not going to be the next multi-$100 billion CEO, the attempt to pursue it is what gives purpose in life. And I think a lot of the communists and socialists forget that you need a purpose in life. And that purpose doesn't come from just taking money from Jeff Bezos and being like, all right, we're redistributing his wealth. The purpose comes from building something that creates products and services that are meaningful enough to create that wealth, and then sharing in the value creation of that wealth via equity, not just redistribution. Equity meaning owning shares in these companies. But then again, people don't even know what a share of a company is. People don't know what the stock market is. Like all those people that are interviewed on the streets voting for Zohan Mamdani, they live in one of the greatest cities in the world for finance, and most of them probably have no idea that you could buy a share of Apple or Tesla or Nvidia. They probably have no idea what people even do on Wall Street. And that to me is the problem with language learning in the United States. I'm going back to this. We need to get rid of the 5 years of Spanish that people learn and turn it into 5 years of how to read a balance sheet, how to read an income statement, how to invest in the public markets. I mean, one of the kids I was talking to yesterday, my mom's friend's house that we went to, her son is entering 9th grade. And I, out of curiosity, because I've been on this rant for the past couple of days, I was like, yo, what language do you take in class? He was like, oh, I take Spanish, but I haven't learned anything for the past 5 years. I just started smiling, bro. I was like, I've been talking about this, and me talking about this, some hedge fund manager who's long Duolingo has been listening to this. Why is Duolingo down 10% this week? The only reason I can attribute it to it is me speaking badly about the concept of language learning. I really have no other reason. This is ridiculous. It's down another 2% today. But dude, like imagine that kid learned about the stock market. Like he was interested in what I do for a living. He was like, oh, you talk about stocks. And he was asking me some questions about stocks. But imagine if for the past 5 years, he was learning how to read a balance sheet or how to think about companies, or just like, even if there was a class about just the story of how Mark Zuckerberg built Facebook, like how is that not insanely more valuable than ¿Cómo estás? Like, I don't get it, bro. I do not get it. But why is Duolingo down? This is getting ridiculous. I don't know why Duolingo is getting hit this bad. Someone said it was because insider selling. The guy sold like 20 shares yesterday, or 20,000 shares. Mitz hates Spanish. I don't hate Spanish. I just think it's ridiculous. Like I was thinking about this last night when I came back. I was like, how could anyone justify 5 years of Spanish or French or German compared to freaking learning about the stock market? Like, I think it should be a national mandate that everyone in high school, at minimum, if not middle school, misses language for the stock market. Because it's just infinitely more valuable. Why do you need to know that many languages? You don't. Like, you got English, you're good to go. You're pretty much good to go. You don't need to know Spanish, German, or French. It's not going to really help you that much in life. It's just not. From a corporate perspective, high school is getting people ready to go into the corporate workplace. You need to know about money. And if you can speak English, that's pretty good. I don't hate Spanish. I just think it's ridiculous. I think forcing people to learn it is ridiculous. That's my point. Or worse, you lived in the 90s in high school, usually just thought French. Yeah, it's like, I don't know if that necessarily changes your life. Do you think this failure of financial education is intentional? You know, some people have the conspiracy theory that, you know, the school systems want to control you. They don't want you to get smarter, all that stuff. I mean, look, I understand that to an extent. I don't think that's necessarily the school system like conspiring to be like, we're going to make kids not learn about their finances. I think it's more so the school systems themselves are so cut in this, or built in this cookie cutter model where they're like, it's regurgitation, memorization, and then the schools have an incentive to get funding if they get good test scores. I know this because my mom has worked in a school for the past 20 years, and everything is geared towards getting kids to get a good test score. And if they don't get a good test score, they don't get any funding. So you teach towards the test. The test is not creative in any sense of the imagination. It's all pure memorization, regurgitation. And so the value creation in school tends to be, not for every school, you know, most private schools tend to have a lot more creative curriculum, but most people can't afford private schools. It tends to be rooted in state-run curriculum that does not encourage any level of creativity or original thinking, especially in the area of finance. I mean, a lot of these teachers, bro, they don't even know where their 401k is getting invested in. They don't even know what the 401k is. They just know this has to leave their page. I know this because my sister is like that, bro. And she has a lot of friends who are like that. My sister barely knew what the S&P 500 was a year ago. She's been contributing to it from her 401k for the past 8 years. Like, how is that possible? Something's leaving your paycheck every week, every 2 weeks, going into this imaginary thing called a 401k. You don't even know what it is. Like, that's a stock market. It's going into the stock market, and no one knows. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there needs to be an entire revamp of it. But also, I'm not here to complain and be like, oh, well, we need to change the entire school system. I don't care, to be honest. Like, I like at some point, like people have to have the ambition to say, look, I want to make money in life. I want to learn about different ways to get financially free. I'm going to go do the research myself. And that comes YouTube, comes Twitter. Like you start learning about stuff, AI, ChatGPT. Like if you really are motivated and ambitious, you will figure it out. You don't need a teacher to tell you how to do it. But it would be an earlier stepping stone for people. Like I would have been way earlier into the markets if I had some classes on it. But I don't expect the school systems to change anytime soon. So it comes down to just people logically coming to the conclusion that some of these socialist policies and these ideas might not end up working out. We had French as a mandatory subject in India in 1994. We could not figure out why 50% of the class did not know where France was. Yeah, I mean, come on, bro. Like, I have no faith that the education system is going to ever change, but I just like, and I look back on it, I'm just like, why did we learn Spanish? What was the point? I don't get it. I just don't see what the value of it was. Parents should be the one teaching about finances. Yeah, I agree. But look, the problem is if you have my parents didn't have financial literacy. They came from India. They were trying to survive, trying to just build a life in America. They had no idea what the stock market was. So like, you would think, all right, if the parents can't do it, then there's going to be something else that can help, you know, create that infrastructure, and that should be the schools. But you know, unfortunately, the schools just have not lived up to that challenge. Okay, we got Loomis, who's the Bitcoin senator. She's asking Jay Powell some questions. Let's see if we get anything good right here, based on maybe some questions about collateralizing Bitcoin and interest rates coming down in order for it to be pegged more so to stablecoins.
Function. So I'm going to focus on bank supervision. First of all, I do want to thank you and Vice Chair Mickey Bowman for ensuring reputation risk has been removed from the bank supervision process. It was very arbitrarily used by those who were supervising. On January 27th, 2023, I'd call it the high watermark for Operation Choke Point 2.0. The Federal Reserve Board, in coordination with President Biden's White House, executed a coordinated attack to isolate the digital asset industry from the banking system. And while the Fed has taken steps to adopt a more balanced approach to digital assets, which I appreciate, the legacy of January 27th, 2023 remains with us today. So I'd like you to look at this quote. It says, issuing tokens on open, public, and/or decentralized networks or similar systems is highly likely to be inconsistent with safe and sound banking practices. So my first question is, do you recognize this quote?
Yes, not super clearly, but yes, I do.
Because it's from the Federal Reserve Board's policy statement on Section 913 of the Federal Reserve Act, which was formally adopted by the board on January 27th, 23. So now, Chairman Powell, I want to show you another statement, and I'm sorry if you can't see it clearly, I'll read it to you. It's from the Genius Act, which just passed the Senate by a vote of 68 to 30 last week. And it takes the opposite position to the board's policy statement on issuing stablecoins on an open, public, distributed ledger.
This is absolutely the political version of digging up old tweets. I'm curious what the gotcha moment is going to be here, and see how J Powell responds to this.
So my question is, what has changed about the risk of stablecoins since the board adopted its policy in 2023? And now that the Congress has weighed in, at least the Senate has weighed in and sent the Genius Act to the House, does the board plan to withdraw the policy statement on Section 913?
So I think what has changed is, if you go back, that's a couple of years ago, that was the period of high profile failures and fraud and that kind of thing. And what's happened is, I think, the industry is maturing, our understanding of it is improving, and in a sense, it's becoming much more mainstream. So all of us are revisiting, the things that were done during that era. And I think the current view is that, that it's appropriate for, it's always been appropriate for banks to choose their customers and to be able to undertake activities as long as they're safe and sound. In terms of, I think I have to get back to you on 913. I think it's a broader thing that has nothing to do with crypto, but that was a piece of it. We are looking at and withdrawing many of our pieces of crypto guidance from that era, though, as you know.
And I appreciate that. I hope that by withdrawing the guidance, that you're also instructing and admonishing your bank's supervisors to, when there are efforts to regulate banks that provide too much discretion to bank regulators to pick winners and losers from among the customer lists, the loan portfolios of banks. It's antithetical to the American system of banking. And I do think that there was that kind of discretion unleashed on banks, and it had a negative impact, a real chilling impact on banks as they selected and banked certain industries and then debanked other industries and other people during the last 4 years. So taking the guidance documents and policy statements out is important, but also guiding the people that there are changes now and that they can no longer use their own subjective biases towards DEI and ESG and other things in supervising the banks is also a critical component of bank regulation.
I agree completely. And as you know, Vice Chair Bowman is actually a former bank supervisor, so she's very well placed to make that happen.
Okay, so again, getting nothing from that. They're talking a lot about. Oh, we got Warren. She's asking. Is she asking? Oh, this is the Senate today? Warren, is she here? Okay, hold on. Let me show this. I think it's a couple people going at the same time. Let's see.
Are you saying that supply chain shocks don't affect inflation?
They do, but that
Okay,
one
they do.
didn't.
So that's clearly one. If you ban the export of liquid natural gas, which is going to cause the commodity price to go up, would that supply shock not also cause inflation?
Potentially could.
Yeah. So, and now the ranking member loves to talk about billionaire corporations, that are going to get away with paying taxes, right? Who pays corporate taxes? Like, who pays it? Is it like some obscure Wizard of Oz character behind the curtain that is a corporate entity that pays taxes? Who pays taxes?
I mean, ultimately, it's shareholders and customers.
So I'm going to read you a line. You tell me this is accurate. On taxes, it's not possible to know in advance precisely how the costs will be shared for taxes. I added
Correct.
that.
I would
But
agree.
it is highly likely that consumers will pay a meaningful share. Meaning, if the ranking member has her way, let's just tax corporations at 100%. Why not? Be fantastic, right? Nobody would want to start a company, but that aside, that cost would be added to consumer products, correct?
A tax or a tariff? What are you talking about now?
If the income tax for American corporations goes up, they will share that tax burden with their consumers. True or false?
Yeah, ultimately.
Yeah. So then taxes do raise inflation, but you don't comment on.
I mean, they have it.
And
though.
you don't.
That's
but you
just
don't.
not true. I mean,
I got
empirically, it's not true.
The chairman's going to beat me up in 56 seconds. So, but you sent me a very nice letter, which I appreciate. And it says the Federal Reserve plays no role in commenting on trade policy. So you don't comment on supply shocks. You don't comment on tax policy, which clearly affects inflation. You don't comment on demand pull. You just said now that we should forgive student debt. Why is a person that goes to Harvard, that gets a gender studies major, pays Harvard obscene amounts of money because professors are grossly overpaid there? Is that person better than a working class Ohioan that is a plumber but can't afford a car because interest rates are too high and car prices have gone up? Why is that person? Why don't we forgive that person's car
It's a hell of a question. That's a hell of a question.
loan instead of forgiving their student loan? But you don't comment on that. You comment on tariffs. So I'm going to just show you.
I don't comment on tariffs at all, actually. I comment on.
Oh, come on, Jay Powell. Come on. Yeah, I mean, like, he I think we've heard some comments from Powell over the past couple of months on tariffs. Like, it's like, I don't think he can deny that. He's got to embrace that.
Only
inflation.
commented on tariffs. You've
I'm
only
not commenting on the
tariffs.
wisdom of tariffs.
Look, the chairman's over there in the conversations. I'm going to show you a chart here. This is car prices.
I'm
This
paying
is-
attention,
this
however.
is, this is car prices since this year. Car prices are down. Car prices are down. Inflation in America is down. We got elected by millions of voters. You got elected by one person. He doesn't want you to be in that job. And you are costing this government $400 billion a year by refusing to lower interest rates. Nobody in this chamber has that kind of power to have a $400 billion impact on this economy, on our deficit. And I just think that you should consider whether you're really looking at this from a fiscal lens or a political lens, because you just don't like tariffs.
Senator Warnock is next.
Well, that was the best one I've seen. And look, I'm a fan of Jay Powell. Before people say I hate Jay Powell, I love this guy. I think, I've said this. I think he's top 5 Fed chairman of all time. And based on what he did in 2024, we got to see kind of how the term plays out. Doesn't look like Warren has started asking any questions yet. I think he could be one of the best Fed chairs of all time. He could be better than Volcker. I mean, or at least he could be in top 3. But it depends, quite frankly, on how we navigate inflation and interest rates right now. And you got that senator right there basically saying, dude, there are certain things that you've talked about that have been pretty aggressive in regards to tariffs, obviously are political. And by the way, I don't blame Jay Powell for talking about tariffs. He has to. He's the federal chair. Of course he has to comment on that. But he does have a point that he doesn't comment on all the other things that could be inflationary, like tax policy, which objectively is true. I don't think there's a debate there. If we have less taxes, you have more money in your pockets. That is an argument that will affect the economy. The idea that Jay Powell doesn't talk about that, but he solely focuses on tariffs, it is a point. I don't blame Jay Powell for talking about tariffs, especially when we have these nonsense reciprocal 5,000% rates on Zimbabwe. Like, obviously, as a Fed chair, you would say, hey, this is massively inflationary, but things have changed. Like, the stock market went down 20%. Stock market's up because the markets recognize, hey, things have changed. And so Powell has not really changed his tone. But by the way, Bowman, Goolsby, Waller, all of these guys have changed their tone in the past 2 months publicly. Powell's the only one who hasn't. And again, the real reason I agree with Trump on this, if we cut by 25 bips, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst case? All right, let's raise it again in a month if it's really that bad. We can definitely pause it for the next few months just to assess what the situation looks like. But the idea that a 25 basis point cut, which would save America, the 1% is 300. So 300 divided by 4, that would save us $75 billion on the interest we pay. It's not a small amount of money. It is not crazy. Not a crazy idea. It's a hard job, 100%. It's a hard job. I'm not one of those people that will, there are some people that just hate Jerome Powell and think he's like an idiot. It's like, no, I don't think that at all. I think he's a very smart guy. I think he's been very fair with the media in terms of how he's been discussing and talking to them. I think he did a phenomenal job in 2024. But one of the things he had in 2024 was a decent chunk of government spending. And he still has a decent chunk of government spending, but he also had the advance of AI kind of just starting, right? Nvidia just growing. So he had a lot of things to support him as he was on his way to eventually cut rates by September. This year, he's got some support, but he also has some challenges to deal with, which I acknowledge. It's a tough job to deal with. But at some point, when PCE goes negative for the first time since 2020, you don't just say, well, look at the tariffs. You don't ignore the tariffs, but you don't just say, well, the tariffs. It gets people to think the perception is, this could be political. So I think that's the I guess most important exchange we've seen so far. Other than that, I haven't seen too much in this testimony here today. It's a job that is not really needed, but many you are indoctrinated. Well, this is Steve's take. Steve's take is that we don't need a Federal Reserve. I don't know if I fully agree with that. I think that's going a little too far. By the way, Steve was supposed to call into the show today because he had an announcement for you guys. I'm going to call him right now. Let's see if he can pick up. But he's so busy today. Let's see if he'll pick up. I still think we need a Fed, personally. Steve doesn't. I just think J-Powell doesn't have to be this stringent on cutting rates. Steve, you there?
Yeah, I'm at the bank. Give me a minute.
Okay, I'm live on the show. I know you have a super busy day, but if you got 5 minutes, you got a lot of people willing to hear your announcement today.
Yeah, just give me a minute.
Okay, I'll give you a minute. Cool. All right, we got him, folks. We got him. Right, but he sent me his calendar yesterday. He has a trillion meetings. We got him right when he's at the bank. Some of you guys already heard his announcement last night. It was a great announcement. It was great. I loved it. I think a lot of you guys will like hearing it. Some of you guys heard it on the market close already. He sold Apple and bought Tesla. Okay, he didn't go that far. Steve's rich. Yeah, he's at the bank where he's probably withdrawing 50 grand or something. Steve runs the mafia in New York, bro. He's probably taking some money out of the bank to do whatever he needs to do. Or he's maybe paying the milk guy. That could also happen. Are you buying the ASTS dip? What dip? What do you mean dip? ASTS? Dude, from 53 to 50. That's not your dip. Maybe it is. But that's not a dip for me. I mean, I wouldn't even think of getting interested until 40. And realistically, I want 35. So some stocks, they run away from you, bro. They run away. It is what it is. You don't cry about it. And you kind of move on. But 53 to 50 is not, in my opinion, the dip on ASTS. But Space Mob is at full control over this. Complete and full control. Nvidia right here, 151. Tesla, 324. They really didn't let Nvidia get over 153, bro. That wall of resistance is still there. 450,000 shares. Palantir going red as well today. 142.89. I did not buy the HIMS dip either. I'm still trying to understand the HIMS situation, bro. I haven't had any time to go into it, but it looks like it's going to get worse before it gets better. That's my elementary take on this. Dude, they're going to compete with Novo Nordisk at this point. $300 billion company versus a $10 billion company. It's going to be an ugly battle. I don't know how the stock's going to react, but I definitely don't think this thing is just going to shoot right back up to 60 like nothing ever happened. It's a big deal, and it's bearish. That doesn't mean it's a thesis breaker. So see that either, I think there's two camps. Number one, it's bearish, and you move on and you're a long-term investor and HIMS will survive. Number two, it breaks the thesis. And I've seen a decent chunk of people say, yep, we're going to the thesis breaker camp. I'm not there because I think eventually there's a lot more to this company than a Novo partnership and a lot more than GLP. But that also means that that also doesn't mean this thing has to rebound as easily as some people think it can. Not to mention it's shorted like crazy. So the shorts are absolutely winning here. What do you think the shorts are going to do when the lawsuits start taking? I mean, they're not going to cover their shorts. They're doubling down. And so the bulls really have to fight against a narrative on this thing that is pretty aggressive. By the way, the bulls should still be happy. HIMS is up a lot this year. So it's not like the bulls can be thinking that HIMS is now, one of the worst performing stocks of the year. It's just not as up as much. And this partnership, I guess, is, one of the things that ultimately determines how this is going to play out. Okay, I think Steve's good. Let me call him again. Are you good? Yeah. Okay, you're live. What is your announcement, sir?
Well, I may actually have to become a Robinhood customer now.
Steve, we can barely hear you. Are you using your headphones?
Yeah, I have you on my Bluetooth.
Okay, you're good. All right. Say it again. Yeah, say it again. We got you.
So I'm going to have to become a Robinhood customer.
There it is, baby. Steve is joining Hoodie.
So, and I may become their best customer because I'm probably going to sign up for gold also.
Wow.
It's going to start with transferring my crypto to Hood, get the match, and then I guess I'm going to pay for the gold and get the, 3% on the IRA?
Yep.
I mean, we pay $60 for 210, so sounds like a good deal. I never really looked into it before, but you know what? I can't believe I'm not going to use it as an investing platform, but I am going to use it for the benefits, I think.
So you're into the hood now with us.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to do the crypto transfer first. But yeah, over the next week or two, I guess I'm going to be Team Hood.
And the reason you're doing it is because of that 1% match, right?
Yeah, why not? I mean, the other place isn't paying me 1% to stay.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like if it's just sitting there and I'm not doing anything with it, I'm just holding it, right? If I'm getting charged nothing or paid nothing to do what I'm doing, if somebody's going to pay me 1% to move and do the same thing I'm doing now, what does it matter where I hold it?
By the way, I got the fresh update. Robinhood says if everyone can do 500 million, they'll give you 2% by July 7th.
Yep.
So far, less than 24 hours later, $12,148,874 has been deposited.
Yeah, I think that they can hit it.
I mean, dude, in a day, 12 million, like that's crazy, bro.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Listen, regardless if I like the product or not, the interface, that doesn't matter. What matters is that they are giving these services to their customers, and even if there's another company that has similar or better, nobody knows about it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, Steve, real quick, we do have some breaking news for you here. Chevron is in early talks, as per the Wall Street Journal, to buy out BP. Or sorry, not Chevron, Shell.
Yeah, that's not surprising. First, it was rumored that Exxon was going to buy them out. Then it was rumored Shell. I'm not surprised.
You think consolidation in the oil space is likely, I would imagine.
Yeah, you're going to see further consolidation because of economies of scale. It just makes sense. It makes sense to buy and acquire great assets that are being underutilized than to spend all the money on exploration. I mean, BP has an amazing portfolio of assets. It is a great strategic buy at this level. You look at their price to free cash flow versus the other companies, it's actually a steal at these levels.
Dude, oil consolidation. I guess that could be a theme for this year as well. Yeah.
But it's been happening. Chevron acquired Hess. Berkshire lent Oxy the money to acquire, what was it, not Diamondback, whatever company Anadarko. So you're going to see more consolidation. Didn't Southwestern and Chesapeake merge?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I agree. All right, last thing for you. Nvidia touched 153 today.
Yeah, where's it at now? I'm gonna have to roll my fucking options.
150, 165. What's your call?
Yeah,
145?
No, 150.
Oh, you're fine. 150, you're fine. You're good.
Yeah, but I mean, I might as well just roll it out to fucking November at this point and go to like 175.
Dude, the way you say the F word is so New York. It's like it's that New York in you, you know? Did you see Trump say the F word yesterday?
I did.
He was pretty pissed off. You kind of sounded the same way that Trump sounded right here.
Sometimes these things happen.
Someone asked, is the 11 million out of the 12 million that's been deposited in Robinhood and crypto Steve's 11 million?
No, I wish it was.
That is crazy though, bro. I didn't expect you to take advantage of the match, but you're ready to come over. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to do it. I'm gonna figure it out this week.
all right, good stuff. I know you got a super busy day. I'll talk to you
Yeah,
later.
I'm going to get lunch right now.
Wait, are you going to Patsy's?
No, it's too hot to get a chicken parm today. I'm going to the diner just to pick up a sandwich and go back to the office for my next meeting.
All right, enjoy the sandwich.
Later.
Later. He is right though. It is hot as hell, bro. It is hot as hell in New Jersey, New York. I mean, yesterday was 100 degrees in Jersey. I can't ask him about the New York City mayor. He wouldn't have said anything because he doesn't like getting political. But if I asked him when we were on the phone together privately, he would have some, let's just say, select words for the New York City mayor. Let's just say that. I'm not going to say what words, but he would have some certain words. He just wouldn't say it publicly. I don't even think Steve voted, dude. I don't think Steve cares. I mean, Steve barely cares about politics, so I doubt he would have yeah, Steve did not stand in the heat yesterday. I can guarantee that, to cast his vote for the New York City mayor. I mean, I'd be willing to bet a bit of money that Steve did not do that. That's the last thing Steve would want to do. But in general, I mean, you guys know Steve, he's not down with the whole socialist ideals of the world. But we're gonna see. New York, when is New York City's general election? When is it? In November? General election NYC. Pretty sure it's November, right? Yeah, November 3rd. All right. Wait, no, that's the midterms. NYC election is November 4th. November 4th. Okay, so November. All right, so we'll find out in the coming months what ends up happening. All right, I think that's it. Are we done for today? 11:45, another 3-hour stream in the books. NYC meetup, most likely November, December time. Miami meetup again. I'll put the form right here. I am working on details on this meetup, but August 23rd is looking very likely. If anyone's in Miami, wants to reach out, has any ideas, please let me know. And trying to get everything secure, but still about a month and almost 2 months away at this point, end of August. So still have some time to get a lot of that planned out. Same weather in Toronto. Yeah, where's the temperature right now? 93. That's ugly, bro. It's very, very, very ugly. Very, very ugly. Even Triple V, he's thinking of switching over to Hood from his platform. The problem is, because he would get I mean, even 1% on his 4 million shares of Hood would be a good chunk of, basically a match incentives that Robinhood could provide him. The problem is that's, it's a big move to go over there, but he's been thinking about it for the past couple months now as well. And now that the initiative is back. And again, the reason it's so good for Robinhood is because they have the unit economics to make it happen. Not a lot of other companies do. It's 82 in Miami, dude. 82 is better than freaking 95. Toronto was 105 yesterday. Yeah, it's a heat wave. It's basically a heat wave that we're seeing right now. I'm not avoiding Houston. It's just Houston's very big in Texas, and I need to do Dallas and Austin as well. So I need to figure out how do I do Texas in a way that pleases everybody. But that's definitely going to be a 2026 mission. And then London, probably 2026 as well. Maybe there's a shot in November for London, but most likely next year. But the rest of the year, we're definitely doing Miami, New York, LA, and Vegas. Those for sure. By the end of the year, we're going to be doing. All right, word of the day. What do we got? Word of the day, scrabbly.
Scrabbly.
Insignificant, small, or sparse. The garden had a few scrabbly weeds poking through the gravel. The hotel gym had scrabbly amenities, one cracked mirror, and a jump rope with no handles. Scrabbly. Some of these stocks having some scrabbly moves today. Overall, we do have red candles across the board. Everything's either flat or slightly red. Nvidia is one of the only ones really holding on. Nvidia and AMD together, kind of holding on to their green. But everything else kind of getting a little bit of red candles here. Oh yeah, Singapore for sure, 2026. We're definitely doing Germany in 2026. Either Munich or Berlin. Europe will be the goal next year as well. Europe will be the goal. Europe, Singapore, and then some of these other cities. And like, dude, like some of these meetups we can do again. So like Bay Area, I'm in the Bay Area so much, and I'm probably gonna be there again next year, plenty of times. And so the spot I did the meetup at, it's an easy spot to do the meet. I know the owner at this point. Like I saw the owner the last time I went after the meetup, and they're super cool. And you don't have to pay anything as long as people buy drinks. They're super cool. So like Boston, easy spot to do the meetup again. New York already have the bar. So like a lot of these we can just do over and over again with people. Kind of make them reoccurring things every year, so people get to connect again, but also new people that join the community get to see everybody. So once you get one of them out of the way, it's not that hard to keep doing it. Miami date is not literally confirmed, but most likely confirmed August 23rd. It will definitely be confirmed probably by the end of the week or by the end of next week. But yeah, more likely than not, we're doing August 23rd. So that one will happen. Shout out to Ash. He was at the first one, bro, in New York. He was at the first one. It was super awesome meeting you. It's just so cool, dude, meeting in person. It actually, puts a face behind all this stuff that we're doing every day. If you came during the summer, I can offer my place at the beach in Italy. I definitely have to stay with Arnie in Italy. Arnie might actually be staying with me in Jersey in September, potentially. He might be coming over to the States. It's not confirmed yet, but it would be very cool if he can come through. And yeah, definitely got to do Italy next year as well. All right, cool. That's it, guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll be back. Micron earnings after the bell. Micron earnings, that'll be the big one today. And we will keep track of that one as we analyze the stock market at the same time of every day, currently, right now, forever, and into eternity. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a great day. I'll see you guys in a couple hours. Bye, everybody.